Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. This is MahfuzVanGogh, your Dredge guy, now recovering from a bad flu, but hopefully everything is going to be okay for this recording. And this is important because we have three important things to achieve today, or maybe try to achieve. The first one is the obvious one. We are next to the new release, Age of Eternities, and we don't know yet if this new edition will be influent in Legacy, but every time a new release comes, something changes. Maybe Tempo players get something new, maybe Control players try something extra. We never know, but this is our last opportunity to play this beautiful zombie deck. I like to think of my Dredge decks, especially in Legacy, as zombie decks because thanks to Breach from Below and Poxwalkers, one of the best zombies ever printed, we sometimes can attack with dozens of zombies for lethal damage. So if this is not a zombie deck, well, for me it is a flavor win when you win with zombies against the Reanimator strategies. There are still there. Your opponent does their best to your opponent did the best to get an Atraxa soon, and then you just create 30 zombies and attack for lethal. So you can gain 7 life, it doesn't matter. But I'm rambling here. The other stuff that we want to achieve today is to test this new chroma key effect. I'm not sure if it will work for long, but now it's working. It's my first time trying to use it. If I see my face being a ghost at some point, maybe I will turn it off. And I need to confess, I still am skeptical about a Dredge deck in this current metagame, because everything is so wildly prepared to fight graveyard strategies because of the no changes situation that we had some weeks ago without bans and unbans in Legacy. Everyone is bringing their A game against graveyards. But I truly believe that Dredge has the tools to fight in any metagame, even full of hate. And hopefully I'll show this to you here today. Let's see. Talking a little bit about our deck. The main deck is our I'm sorry guys, is our stock list from the previous months. And in the sideboard, I'm super confident on Unmask instead of Leyline of Sanctity. I'm not trying to win against green decks here because the metagame, at least for me in Legacy Leagues, has been a blue soup with graveyard hate in the form of artifacts. So that's why Unmask and Shenanigans for me are so great. But again, let's see, today is a Legacy challenge and everything can change. Oh, and the moment I will upload this video, I'll probably already have a new sideboard guide, an updated sideboard guide for this great deck. So if you are interested, please go there, check my Patreon page, patreon.com/thedredgeguy. The tournament is about to start in 10 minutes, so I'll grab a cup of tea, try to improve my voice a little bit, and let's go back to start this Legacy challenge right now. So round 1 in this Legacy challenge, we already had a mulligan, and now we need another one. Okay, this is possible. We are playing against Sometime Since, and this is possible because otherworldly gaze can find us an LED or something else to win on turn 2. Let's keep it. My opponent is going to 4. Hopefully this is hopefully we will have a turn 1. And then I have more time to get my voice better. So we kept a hand with Stifle Tempo, which is our best land enabler, otherworldly gaze and breakthrough, and our best treasure. So our hand is not that bad for a 5-card hand. Okay, my opponent is playing Oops. Bogart Buck, tapped and passed. Let's see what we have here. My opponent had a mulligan to 4, so maybe we have a chance to win, especially because Stifle Tempo is good against Oops all spells. We will pass the turn back, holding otherworldly gaze and a dream. My opponent had a draw and nothing. Okay, so you're telling me there is a chance. Let's grab our chance here. Otherworldly gaze. Okay, Narco and Dredgers, and then we can resolve our breakthrough and maybe win. Yeah, maybe this is a win. If we have at least 2 Dredgers when we resolve a breakthrough, there is great chances of winning with our deck. Okay, we had Stink with Imp and already have a Dredge return, so let's try to win right now. Breakthrough resolves, of course, so Dredge 5, Dredge 5 again, Dredge 4, come on, and Dredge 4. Okay, we will discard everything. We have 2 therapies, 1 bridge, 1 Poxwalker. So we will have time to disrupt our opponent's hand and at the same time gain Satoru and try to win the game this turn. Even if you don't win the game this turn, we can disrupt our opponent's hand for good. What to name here? Undercity Informer, maybe? Let's name Undercity Informer. Yeah, my opponent had 1, and also Siemens Red Guide and Goblin Charbelcher in the main deck, which seems to be a trend between Oops, spells players. I noticed that in the last week. So let's name Simon Spirit Guide. And we can return Satoru before casting Therapy, because Therapy is an enabler for us right now, with Satoru in play. And now my opponent cannot win in the next 2 turns, probably. But it's better guarantee, right? Let's try to win right now. Dredge 6. It's better to be sure. Narcomoeba enters, triggering Satoru. And in case you never saw this before, this is why Satoru is so good in our deck. Let's cast our Therapy there, sacrificing Pokeswalkers. Both Pokeswalkers will trigger Satoru twice, and then we will reach a Thassa's Oracle win. Dredge 5. Oh, an Narcomoeba. I can say yes to this Narcomoeba here, just we need to be careful to not deck, right? So Dredge 4 instead of Dredge 5. And we already have Thassa's Oracle there, so our deck doesn't have anything. We don't need to name anything. Let's cast Dredge Return, reanimating Thassa's Oracle for a great win on turn 2. And that's huge, because winning against Oops on game 1 is huge. And now let's go to our sideboard. This current build of our deck, and this current build, I don't have that many graveyard hate cards, only Leyline of the Void. But sometimes we can have our own turn 1 wins. They are not that reliable as Oops of Spells. Oops is better on winning on turn 1 compared to us. But sometimes we haven't them. So against Oops, after sideboarding, we don't know if they will have something against us or not. Some players play Leyline of the Void back, some players play Harry Macarbs, and some players don't play anything against us. I mean, we could include 4 copies of Unmask, but I'm not sure if they are that good on the draw. Something that I've been investigating a lot recently is how to improve our deck being on the play, being on the draw against each other deck in the meta. Even Shenanigans is a consideration here, because knowing that we have Cabal Therapy, opponents will probably just play Lotus Petal immediately. Well, Shenanigans is actually 1 extra Dredger, right? And I had great, I know it seems narrow, it is, but I had great experiences with single Shenanigans as an extra Dredger recently. I will tell you more about it if this happens in this challenge today. Let's try to include only 3 copies of Unmask. I know this is crazy. Okay, let's go to the full 4. Breakthrough is really good, but since we need to find Leyline on game 2 on the draw, Breakthrough is not the best card to improve our situation after a Leyline. Okay, this is a keep, of course, but keeping a hand with 2 Narcomoebas is always awful. Hopefully this will work. My opponent kept 7 cards. Bogart, Bog, and my opponent will probably have ways to deal with Leyline of the Void. Force of Vigor is one of their possible answers. But since they kept 7 cards, I hope they don't have any answer against us. Let's grab our Volcanic Island and resolve our Faithless Looting. We'll Breakthrough for next turn. So we probably have the win next turn. Not guaranteed because of this double Narcomoeba in our starting hand, but it can work. Your opponents on Oops always can win the game with Goblin Charbelcher. Oh, my opponent had Force of Vigor. Exiling Elvish Spirit Guide, so 1 less mana for them. Again, let's be positive. Maybe they don't have enough mana to win this turn, and we can do our best with Breakthrough. My opponent is playing Bogart Bog, exiling Elvish Spirit Guide, and playing Undercity Informer, but without extra mana. So we need to win this turn with Anger, because I'm not playing Thassa's Oracle after sideboard. So let's Dredge 6. Sorry. We have several Dredgers there, we have the potential, but with 2 Narcomoebas here, we need to find all of our bridges and Poxwalkers and Narcos. 1 Narco, no bridges yet. Oh, no, guys, that's unfortunate. We did found our Narcomoebas, but our bridges, our 3 bridges, are on our remaining 20 cards. Even if we had the full playset and we had a bridge here, we couldn't get enough Angry Zombies to win the game before my opponent. So let's attack with our Narcomoebas. Never know, maybe the opponent maybe the opponent did a bad sideboarding and put Thassa's Oracle out of the deck. Let's see my opponent's secrets with this Cabal Therapy. I think it doesn't matter, right? Let's name Reanimate in case my opponent has a weird okay, Chancellor and Memory Journey, a weird sideboard tech. Some Oops players sometimes have Doughty Voidwalker and Reanimate. And my opponent will win, but I will only concede after seeing the whole deck, because then we can know for sure what are my opponent's sideboard cards. Okay, so let's analyze here. Chancellor, Memory Journey, Fairy Macabre, and Surgical. 2 Surgicals. Jack-o'-lantern, more Chancellors. Goblin Charbelchers, several of them. It was only one fairy and two surgicals against us. Surgical fairy. Oh no, here it is. The extra fairy macabre, right. So now what? My opponent is thinking here. Oh, Thessazarkov is there. Dredgeton is also there, yeah. And we can concede here. Okay, guys, now we are on the play. And as I said, winning game 1 against Oops is always huge. Because they are the game 1 win deck, right? So I'm not sure if I do anything different here. 2 fairies and 2 surgical, so Unmask is good. And we also need Leyline. And in my previous experience, after sideboarding, trying to win with Thessazarkov is not the best plan. Sometimes, if your opponent is light on Graveyard Hate, this can be good. But you usually don't want to try to cast Dredge Return against this deck with so many tools against you. Unmasks are even good to force your opponent to discard Force of Vigor, in case you have Leyline of the Void. Oh, mulligan to 6. Oh, the wrong color of mana. This could be a turn 1, but Stifle Tempo is here to betray us. Mulligan to 5. And my opponent kept 7, so is now Leyline or nothing, I guess? But my opponent can have answers to Leyline as we saw in the previous game. What about this? Let's go to 4. Okay, we need a Dredger. I'll keep this, guys. We are probably losing this one. Unless my opponent kept a Goblin Charbelcher hand. Let's put Narco and 1 land. And probably the other land. Let's skip Scalding Tarn. And my opponent has a Chancellor. How can we win now with a single land? Come on, deck. Let's do a miracle here today. Let's do a miracle. We have something to fight for. Winning against Oops all spells on game 3 without Leyline. Let's cast a LED and pay the 1. Against the Chancellor of the Annex. I really wanted to resolve Faithless Looting here, guys. Because at least we could do our thing. Find a Grave Troll, something like that. A breakthrough winning on turn 2. But now we are getting late. My opponent has 8 cards in their hand. Guardian of Freya's. This is not black mana. Tapped and Lotus Petal, okay. Yeah, maybe my opponent kept a hand with Goblin Charbelcher. Or with answers against Leyline. Another LED is solid. Am I playing it? Let's cast Looting first, because my opponent can maybe disrupt our LEDs. So let's cast Looting first. Cephalic Elysium for next turn. I think I will play it. Cast Looting. We at least have a chance here to have Threshold to crack Cephalic Elysium. Oh no, we have Poxwalkers, so Poxwalkers will get back. So forget about what I was saying. Because Threshold is good to activate Cephalic Elysium targeting your opponent if they don't have enough green mana to cast Memory's Journey in response. This tea is so good. I'm feeling my throat getting a little bit better. My opponent is thinking here. What? Did I have Surgical? If my opponent has Surgical Extraction here, this will be a nightmare to win. We could even concede, but no, we will not concede because we are what? Fighters. We are fighters. My opponent is thinking on something really deep here. Many thoughts. They do have Surgical Extraction. Oh no. Okay, so let's think again. My opponent kept a hand of 7, but without a turn 1. They kept a hand of 7 with Surgical and Chancellor. 2 cards. And then Guardian of Freya's, Lotus Petal, 4 cards. They drew an extra card. So they might have a super slow hand. Maybe they don't have the mana they need. Maybe they have something. Maybe they have a Charbelcher, but no enough mana. They definitely don't have Payoff plus Dark Ritual in their hand. So let's keep that in mind, because this is weird. We probably will not win anymore, but if my opponent has a super slow hand, we can threaten them with Cephalic Elysium as soon as we get Threshold. Next turn, not this turn. Or even this turn, because we have LED plus a second looting in our graveyard. And then next turn we can crack Cephalic Elysium, maybe? Okay, it is finally resolving here. We found a Dredger and a Narcomoeba. So our best chance here is probably cracking this LED, getting Threshold right now, and then we have Cephalic Elysium for next turn. We don't have Poxwalkers anymore, and we have one less Narcomoeba. So we need to find more Narcomoebas. We have Anger, 1 Narcomoeba is good, we have Cabal Therapy, and 1 Bridge. So we can see our opponent's hand and attack with a 2/2 zombie this turn. Narcomoeba was only an illusion. What we really have is a 2/2 zombie. Or zombie text, or zombie deck attacking again. So what to name here? Undercity Informer, I think it's still the best name, because it's the cheaper creature that my opponent can have. Oh, my opponent kept a strong hand against the Leyline, but nothing much after that. Well, they kept a hand with Surgical Extraction, but they don't have it anymore. And my opponent had a Force of Vigor against our LED, in case we pass the turn trying to use LED on the next turn, for example. So, yeah, we did the right thing. We did the right thing. We have a chance, guys. It's not a great chance, but we do have a chance against my opponent's deck. So they play Felmire. We don't care about Force of Vigor and Wear Down, or even Chancellor. The only card that we care on my opponent's hand is Elvish Spirit Guide, because it is mana and my opponent can top deck Goblin Charbelcher. So let's crack Cephalic Coliseum targeting us, right? We could keep Cephalic Coliseum open in case my opponent threats something. But if they had payoff one of their creatures, they had mana to cast them, right? So I don't think my opponent has a payoff right now. And the shields are off. We don't have Leyline. Okay, let's dredge first. Let's see what we have first. Okay, 2 Narcos are great. We still have 3 therapies in our deck. Okay, let's crack Cephalic Coliseum. Dredge 5, Dredge 4, and nothing else but Unmask. Unmask is not the worst for the next turn if everything gets slow. And we have Cabal Therapy here. So, and another Breach. So we will attack with extra zombies this turn. What a game. This is not your most common Elvish Spirit Guide. Your most common Dredge versus Oops. Usually games are slightly different than that. But we don't have Poxwalkers anymore, but we can attack in the really old-fashioned way with Angry Zombies. Let's attack, dealing 7 damage to my opponent. They will go down to 9. And their hand is not good. They need to top deck something. We have a real chance to win next turn if we find an extra therapy. And I might dredge 5 instead. Okay, my opponent is playing Felmire. Oh, are they playing it untapped? If they are playing it untapped, they will go down to 6. So if they have a Goblin Charbelcher, we already have lethal. If they play it untapped, okay, they played tapped. But they took a moment to decide. So maybe they have something? Or maybe they are just taking their time thinking on other things. Sometimes playing online, you just do your best trying to figure out some clues on your opponent's behaviors. Sometimes they play slowly and fast and you are not sure. So Wear Down is bad, Force of Vigor is bad, Chancellor is bad, and my opponent has 1 extra card. My opponent is still thinking. Okay, my opponent decided to pass the turn, it seems. And I will dredge 5, so I have this Unmask here in my hand. So we can disrupt our opponent's new card. Maybe it's just a Fairy Macabre that my opponent could cast with 3 mana. Let's see. Show me your secret opponent. Oh, it's a new Elvish Spirit Guide. So my opponent probably was debating with themselves here about playing the Spirit Guide as a creature, maybe. My opponent is down to 2, guys. I think we have this. My opponent can win if they top decks one of their 8 creatures, 8 payoffs. If they don't have them, we won this. Oh, my opponent is tapping mana. Bogart Troller. All right, you can exile my graveyard. I don't care anymore. Oof. We won round 1 against Oops, guys. This is harder. GG's opponent. This is harder than it used to be before. Let's attack for lethal. And my opponent blocks, all right. And we won. Oof. Now I have some time to rest my voice and come back stronger for round 2. I want to say thank you to all my patrons that you can see here on this page. Guys, you are awesome. And I can create content because of your continuous support. If you also want to help me as a content creator, please go there, check my Patreon page, patreon.com/thedredgeguy. See you there. Round 2, guys. We are on the play paired against Bawer. And okay, this hand can be a turn 1. If my opponent is playing a counterspell deck, this might be our demise, because especially against me online, since usually on Magic Online people recognize me as a dredge player. Usually every blue player tries to have a Force of Will or Force of Negation playing on the draw against me, so that's why I don't rely that much on hands like this like before. That's why I play only 2 copies of Breakthrough. But on the blind against an unknown opponent, I think my opponent is not here yet, but on the blind against an unknown opponent, this is a good kip. Okay, since my opponent is away from keyboard, I'll take this opportunity to tell you that I was more confident than usual to play this challenge today, because we are already in July, and in this year, I've been not playing that many challenges like before, because sometimes I need to work on Sundays, which is usually my best day to play, or just because, you know, life. And this year, especially, maybe I played 10 legacy challenges, maybe less than that. I had some good results, sometimes not that good, but I'm not that, at least now, I'm not that grinding player that grinds playing in all legacy challenges, sometimes three challenges in a week, you know, or maybe more, not sure. So sometimes I play on Sundays, sometimes on Saturdays, usually on Sundays. But yesterday I played 3 leagues in a row since I was in my bed, and I played 3 leagues in a row, and I had a great 3-2 streak with this exact same list, including a trophy and 2-for-1 results. So this also boosted my confidence to play here on this legacy challenge in the next day. Okay, it seems my opponent is here. And let's do or or jam, right? I played, oh, it resolved fast. I did resolved fast, so no counter spells on site, probably. Let's resolve breakthrough, hold priority, crack a leading response. And now, please, let's chain some dredging action. Dredge 5. Oh, we couldn't. This was a failure. That's unfortunate. But we have Poxwalkers, 2 therapies. We can disrupt our opponent's hand and maybe try to do something better on the next turn. So I have 2 therapies, 1 Poxwalkers. So on the blind these days, especially when your opponent press F6 here against you, I like to name Dark Retro, but it could be anything really. Dark Retro. Oh no, it's an Eldrazi deck. In my opinion, Eldrazi decks are competitive right now, but they are only a shadow compared to what they were before the ban, right? So let's name Eldrazi Linebreaker. Now they are truly aggro decks with a little bit of prison elements like Chalice, and sometimes they can win. But now I think our chances to win against Eldrazi are higher than before. Chalice on 0, okay. Eldrazi used to be a boogeyman for us. So now I have 2 more Cabal Therapies, but not bridges yet. I want to reanimate my Satoru, but no bridges yet. Let's see what my opponent can do. They have, they have 2 lands and 2 unknown cards in their hand. Let's drink some delicious tea. Okay, my opponent had something. Okay, slaxx command, going after our Dredger and otherworldly gaze. Yeah, my opponent knows that I will need to top deck, and a land plus gaze would be good. My opponent kept 2 cards on top, but we had a Faithless Looting on top. That's great. So we have Cabal Therapy. My opponent is tapped. So let's discard Dredger and Poxwalkers. We don't have bridges yet, but at least we have 2 Poxwalkers after that. We have 2 therapies. What to name here? My opponent kept 2 cards on top. They have so much mana. A second slaxx command, maybe? Oh, my opponent is conceding. Okay, we don't need to decide. They kept cards on top, but probably not good enough against 2 therapies. And what now? Recently, Eldrazi decks pivot to include more artifact graveyard hate instead of enchantments. So in the previous week playing Dredge, in the previous couple of weeks, I, as usual, was siding into the Flood Maw against them. But then I started noticing that no one was playing Leylines anymore, at least on Magic Online. Instead, they also have more artifacts. So Shenanigans is actually pretty good, not only against Chalice of the Void, but also some other artifacts like a Ghost Vacuum or Unlicensed Hearse that your opponent can have. Okay, this is also a mulligan. Let's go to 5. Let's go to 4. Oh no. Okay, on 4. This can be a turn 2 if my opponent doesn't have... this is good again. Okay, my opponent has Devourer of Destiny. Okay, if my opponent doesn't have Fairy Macabre, if my opponent doesn't have Graveyard Hate against us, if my opponent doesn't have Chalice on 1, and if my opponent doesn't have slaxx command, we had the best hand, the best possible hand is this: Golgari Throw and Cabal Therapy on turn 1, and then Kraken Cephalic Coliseum on turn 2. My opponent didn't want Small Creatures and slaxx command, which makes me think they have another one, or maybe they just needed mana. Eldrazi Tempo plus Lotus Petal. Oh, this is super aggressive. It seems my opponent kept an aggressive hand against us, so let's try to punish them for that. Trample is really good against us. Grave Throw is incredibly good if my opponent doesn't have Graveyard Hate. And I don't think they have, considering that they cracked Lotus Petal on turn 1. So Cabal Therapy targeting us. Let's name. Go get a Grave Throw. I'm sorry guys, sometimes it is still a bad flu. Ooh. My opponent has Eye of Ugin. So they can exile our 2 Grave Throws. And I think they have this option here. If they don't do that, is maybe because they don't have slaxx command and I was wrong. Let's see. Oh, they do have, okay. So no trolls for us. How can we win from this situation? My opponent has a 6/3 haste trample creature. They can cast a Devourer of Destiny next turn. Otherworldly Gaze is our only hope. Let's cast it. Surveil 3, come on. Okay, we have Dredgers for next turn. And we have Ox. Maybe we can reanimate Ox. Anger is useless here because we kept hand without access to red mana. I decided to not show my Stifle Tempo because I know my opponent plays Wastelands. But maybe this was just a mistake because they can activate Wasteland on our Underground Sea anyways. And we can concede here. Okay, my opponent was incredibly fast with slaxx command. Now being on the play, let's include Unmask. Dredge Return, no. Anger, probably not that impressive against Eldrazi. It's always a good card, but against a Wasteland deck, we can probably win without Anger. Am I including Shenanigans yet? My opponent kept a good hand with a fast win plus slaxx command. Okay, let's go. We have Faithless Looting, Shenanigans, but only one mountain. Let's mulligan. Oh, this is incredibly interesting. My opponent kept 7. Let's keep it. This is not fast, but it has so much disruption here. We can cast Unmask targeting my opponent, and according to what we see, we decide what to do next. Unlicensed Herds, so yeah. My opponent had... if I take my opponent's Lotus... No. Let's not try to be creative. Let's just get the Hearse. Underground Sea, and we cast Cabal Therapy against us. Against us, not targeting us. Grave Troll. I think my fever is growing, guys. I think I need some medicine. After this matchup here, I'll take some pills. And now we... Unless my opponent has something incredible in their turn 1 against us, we have tools to win on game 2, on turn 2. Wasteland. Oh no. Lotus Petal, okay. Okay, my opponent has the win with this top deck Wasteland. They just need to... What? Okay, let's Dredge 6. For some reason, my opponent is letting me do this. And I am so thankful. Let's Dredge 6. And Dredge 5. And Dredge 5. Okay, no Narcos yet. We need to find the Narcomoeba here because we will not have more lands after this turn. I think sometimes players don't have that much experience against Dredge. Because Dredge is not that common these days, right? So sometimes players... Yeah, now my opponent destroys my land. Sometimes players just have the same play patterns against you as they have against other decks. Okay, Narcomoeba is here. We have Breaches, we have Poxwalkers, we have Therapies, and my opponent knows it's over. Oof! We won round 2. I'll take a break here and come back stronger for round 3. Round 3, guys. We are on the play against slaxx. And, well, this hand is not perfect, but we have 2 enablers to lands on the play. I think I'll keep it. Anger is incredibly good if we hit something with our Faithless Looting on turn 1. No, we don't have Dredgers, so Otherworldly Gaze is the best idea here. But if we hit something good, we can even win on turn 2 with Hasty Zombies. You should always consider the potential of your hands, because you will not play Dredge successfully these days if you only mulligan until you find the broken hand, because your opponents have broken answers. So, okay, this hand has potential. Let's play Scouting Tarn and pass a turn. I'll crack Scouting Tarn on my opponent's upkeep here, because this could be a day's deck, so let's grab a basic island. Wastelands are everywhere, and I'll just cast Otherworldly Gaze. Okay, Dredgers and Breakthrough. So we have a win on turn 2. Let's see what my opponent has. Hopefully, no disruption. Please, no disruption. Oh no, it's a green deck. Maybe just a control deck. My opponent played Windswept Heath. The broken land, at least against us, because it represents so much in a single land, and my opponent is passing the turn. Oh, now what? This can be only a bluff, but considering that we have Faithless Looting plus Breakthrough, guys, I think I'll just go for it, right? I feel like we need to go for it. What would you do here? Because if we wait, my opponent can be just another deck or something, and they would be glad that we are just waiting without doing our best. My opponent might have a counter spell here. Let's see, Faithless Looting here. But if my opponent is playing lands or depths, and they have crop rotation, we'll just lose. But since Faithless Looting is resolving, I think I'll just try, guys. Let's see, if my opponent has crop rotation, if this is a crop rotation deck, we will lose on the spot, because they will just to turbo Jukabog right into play. But if it's not, we'll just win the game right now. When you're experienced playing Dredge, you can smell the danger, but you can also smell the danger of not going for it. Like you need to go for it, because if you wait too much, this is Legacy, and your opponent can win on the backswing if this was just a bluff. So let's go for it. I'll discard everything. I have all the tools to win the game. This turn, we have Dredge return. Yeah, we have all the tools to win the game this turn. Oh no. Please. No crop rotation. Oh, Tropical Island. What? My opponent is a blue deck with crop rotations. And Bojuka Bog in the main deck. Okay, guys, we'll definitely lost here because we have only 17 cards left in our deck. But I will not concede until I noticed what is my opponent's deck, because Tropical Island, crop rotation, this is a different sequence. Mox Diamond. Is this just lands with blue? Life from the Loam. Yeah, it's a lands deck with Loam and a splash to blue spells. My opponent might have even counter spells after sideboarding. Let's concede. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Exploration. All right, this is a lands deck with blue. Probably the hardest matchup for us compared to the only hardest matchup instead of this. Let's try Careful Study. Would be the 8 Void deck, right? With 4 copies of the Void Walker and the Line of the Void in the main deck. So 8 copies of Void effects in the main deck. This is probably the second. This blue lands deck is probably our second worst matchup. The matchup that you don't want to see when you play in your local game store. Lands, a traditional lands deck. Okay, this splashing blue, it is quite possible that my opponent has cards like not Spell Pierce, Fluster Storm maybe, or maybe some. My opponent might have different lands techniques like Otawara, for example. What else? Bounce spells. But this is still a lands deck, and now we know better. And now we have 4 copies of Unmask. I would say that we have like 10% of winning chances against this deck, and we already lost our game 1. But let's see. As I said at the intro of this video, I have been not tuning this build here against green decks. So, against Bojuka Bog. If you have several green opponents in your local area, you should include cards like Leyline of Sanctity, or maybe play the Loam build that we had here on this channel. Oh, deck. Every now and then, your deck will betray you, and this is the case again. Let's go to 4. Okay, this is our best chance. We can win on turn 2. We'll probably not, because my opponent... well, my opponent had a mulligan to 6. Maybe this is just a slow mulligan for them as well. Let's see. We'll shuffle back those cards in our deck, because we will probably need them to win against lands. So let's crack Scouting turn. Hopefully my opponent will not have Wasteland, Fairy Macabre, Surgical Extraction, Endurance, Crop Rotation. Everything on turn 1. We need only a turn 2 to win this. Faithless Looting. My opponent is posing here and there, so it makes me think... Oh, 2 lands. It makes me think that they might have Fairy Macabre or Surgical Extraction, or maybe Endurance. Wasteland. Oh, whoa. So Guide Lantern. All right. So sorry, guys. Usually when I have this coughing, I don't have time to to turn off the mic. Not today, at least. Okay, let's grab... No, actually, this was a mistake. Okay, let's grab our Volcanic Island here. But the right call is just to wait to turn 3 and cast Faithless Looting with Flashback. Let's see if my opponent was... If my opponent played Wasteland on turn 1, I would bet that they kept a hand with answers like Soul Guide Lantern, but not that many lands, because playing Wasteland and tapping it on turn 1, it's usually not the best play. Oh, my opponent has Expedition Map, so they can grab a Bojuka Bog next turn, or a Dark Depths. Let's cast our Faithless Looting here. Okay, is there a way to tempt my opponent into cracking that Soul Guide Lantern? Not this turn, unfortunately. Let's save Boxwalkers in our hand and pass the turn. My opponent draws Dark Depths, alright. Or maybe they already had Dark Depths in their hand. And Fairy Macabre, okay. Fairy Macabre, Soul Guide Lantern, Expedition Map, and the combo with Dark Depths. How can we win this? Oh, there is more. Oh, okay, my opponent stopped for a little bit there. We had Narcomoeba to block Merit Ledge, alright. Boxwalkers unfortunately doesn't fly. Merit Ledge unfortunately has Indestructible. Expedition Map is cracked. Bojuka Bog or Yevimaya? Or maybe a colored mana. Yeah, just Yevimaya, okay. If my opponent has blue cards, for example, they could go after that Tropical Island. Yevimaya, and my opponent will tap for green. Sylvan Library. Okay, my opponent will not go for the combo yet. They are patient. We have Otherworldly Gaze. Can we force my opponent to finally crack the Salt Guide Lantern there? Okay, more Dredgers. They have 3 cards in their hand. Let's keep this Otherworldly Gaze in our top. I'll pass the turn. I think I can attack, right? Let's attack with Narcomoeba. Ha! We are winning this. We have threats. My opponent doesn't. Okay, let's see my opponent's secrets with this Cabal Therapy here. I will name Crop Rotation. That Yavimaya. Oh no, my opponent. Oh, my opponent is holding Bojuka Bog this whole time. They have Flusterstorm and they also play Containment Priest. So this is Graveyard Hate dot deck. My opponent doesn't have white. And so my opponent's hand is not that good because they can't play those cards yet. And the trick to try to force them to crack that Soul Guide Lantern is to have small advantages one by one at some point. Your opponents just lose it and crack their lanterns. Or not. My opponent is letting me have this new Narcomoeba. Yeah, because I'm not threatening that much, right? And now my opponent decided to wasteland my Cephalic Elysium. And Sylvan Library, my opponent kept a card, okay, down to 15. They play Bojuka Bog, as they should. But my opponent doesn't have Exploration, so no white mana, no blue mana yet. And we have this spare Otherworldly Gaze that we kept on top. So let's cast it. Oh, those are great hits. Let's keep an EDD on top, a second Narco. The combination of EDD, Breakthrough, and Dredge can win out of nowhere. We have Breakthrough, we have EDD, we have one Dredger there. We just need to see if my opponent will crack this Soul Guide Lantern at some point. Okay, they are creating a 2020. Hopefully no Crop Rotation or ways to attack with Trample or anything. Sylvan Library keeping one extra card, down to 11. My opponent, now they found colored mana. We need to block. One Narco down, 3 cards in our graveyard. And now we will draw our LED. Do I show it to my opponent? Let's cast it. No fear from my opponent. We'll definitely cast that Otherworldly Gaze again. Not sure if it was correct to show to my opponent that we have LED. But yeah, my opponent now has Containment Priest. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze in case we find our last Narcomoeba. No, but more Dredgers. So our hopes rely on Ox of Agonas, but my opponent has a Soul Guide Lantern, and a Marit Ledge, and a Sylvan Library, and a Containment Priest. Bojuka Bog is out. My opponent already played it. Otawara. Yeah, my opponent has an Otawara and Source of Plowshares. Let's consider here, guys. My opponent's deck is like a control deck with Marit Ledge and Bojuka Bog. Yeah, we had no chance. Round 4, guys. Hopefully not another lands deck. We are on the play against oosunq. And this is a kip. We don't have Dredgers yet, but we have 2 Otherworldly Gazes and LED plus Ox, plus Cephalic Elysium on turn 2. Or maybe on turn 1, if we want to protect our scouting turn here a little bit more. But this is a keep. This is not a turn 1 win, but this could definitely be a turn 2. My opponent, I think my opponent is not ready yet. Okay, my opponent is now here. And, okay, let's play scouting turn here. LED. We have Reanimator. Let's see if this LED resolves first. My opponent is thinking here, so this might be a blue deck. I'll pass a turn, and let's decide if I want a basic island here, just in case. I think I do. As we see, Wasteland is everywhere. So, basic mountain and looting. Do I want the basic mountain here, considering my hand? I think I don't want, guys, this time. Because we don't have... we could keep mountain and looting, but this would be so slow to keep both on top. I prefer to keep digging with my Otherworldly Gaze and try to win with Cephalic Elysium plus Ox of Agonas. My opponent had a scouting turn. So let's play this Otherworldly Gaze in our upkeep. Oh, yes! This card is so good in multiples. And now we can dredge 6. And you know what, guys? I would love to see a Cabal Therapy here. Just to... Okay, we have 2. 2 of them and 1 Poxwalker. So let's play our Cephalic Elysium to play around days. And let's cast our first Therapy. Because this way we can search for traps and then cast Ox of Agonas. And if we need a turn 3, we still have a Cephalic Elysium. So let's name Brainstorm, since this is probably a blue deck. Oh, Force of Will and Stifle. And Wasteland. But my opponent's hand is not that good. My opponent was holding Counterspell and Stifle, but against us, Stifle can be really good. It can disrupt our Cephalic Elysium. But the good thing is, we can take Stifle and my opponent cannot cast Force. So our Ox of Agonas will resolve and trigger. So let's name Stifle. And my opponent can bolt something. It will not be good, but they can. Let's clean this. So this is blue-red Tempo. Not sure if my opponent has Delver, but they have Stifle. And what now? Let's discard our hand. We have enough cards. Sorry. We have enough cards here. I might be exiling something that I don't want, but we have so many useless cards here now. Yeah, it's okay. Just one Otherworldly Gaze and one Faithless Looting that we probably don't need anymore to win this game. Let's see if my opponent wants to lightning bolt my Ox. I don't think so. Dredge 6, Dredge 6 again, and Dredge 6 again. Ox is so good. Oh, an Ox Impression. And now what? Otherworldly Gaze, since we have spare mana. Poxwalkers, triggering. And guys, this is the magic of Magic Online. If you don't play Magic Online, let me tell you this. In my health condition today, I would never play a paper tournament because playing Dredge and resolving that many triggers, one after another, in this situation, it would not happen. I would probably lose match after match. But since Magic Online helps you not ordering your triggers, but triggering in auto mode, so it feels so good. I feel like I'm not losing that much here because of my sickness. Now what? Usually against you might question yourself, how can I do this so fast here? My hand is faster than my thoughts here because I usually know what to do against my opponent's deck. The thing is, do we want Unmask or not? I don't want Dredge Return on game 2 against my opponent because my opponent might have Surgical Extraction and Grafdigger's Cage, usually, in the current meta. On the other hand, sometimes when I don't play Dredge Return in Ox, I feel like... I feel like we have not enough threats to win the game if your opponent casts a Surgical Extraction in your Poxwalkers, for example. So, currently, having Poxwalkers and Ox together against my opponent, it seems like a better idea. All these ideas that I'm talking to you here today and several more will be available to you in this deck's sideboard event on my Patreon. Go there. Oh, alright, it seems like we have a turn 1 with some risks. Because Golgari Thug is our worst dredger. We could try a turn 1 with Cephalic Coliseum plus LED. My opponent kept 7. We should keep hands like this because they are so good, and even on the draw, because we can always draw something even better, right? To improve this hand a little bit. This hand is incredibly good. If we find a Dredger, a Enabler, a LED, a land, not the best draw here. Let's see for LED resolves. We can cast LED at any moment here because my opponent probably doesn't have ways to disrupt artifacts, only to counter them or to bounce them. So let's grab our basic island here. Playing around Stifle. It's been a while since my last time saying that, because everyone these days play with only Consign to Memory, not Stifle. Volcanic Island for my opponent. Ponder, alright. My opponent shuffles and passes. So I believe my opponent is holding Stifle or Hydroblast, Pyroblast, things like that. Let's be patient. My opponent is not threatening us and we have 4 lands. And it's okay. My opponent is holding up 1 mana each turn. Yeah, now they brainstorm. Being patient is a hard thing to achieve as a Dredge player, but years of yoga and meditation had helped me to achieve this state of mind. Let's be patient. Okay, now we have another Dredger. I think our patience is gone right now, yeah? My opponent is not doing much. We have a Cephalic Coliseum, we have enough lands, we have Breakthrough. I think now it's probably the time to go for the throat here. Unless my opponent has several pieces of Disruption, this could be good enough. Let's just cast Breakthrough with X equals to 1 and test my opponent's hand. If this resolves, we know for a fact that my opponent doesn't have Force of Will or Force of Negation. Now, they might have Stifle, they might have other stuff, but this is just a sweet Force of Will target. It represents that I don't have much going on, and we still have our LED and Cephalic Coliseum. And if my opponent counters that, that's alright. We can reevaluate after that. Guys, this can maybe not seem like much. Okay, I'm just casting Breakthrough. What's the matter here? But this is actually something that I personally consider some next level play. To play Breakthrough without discarding your hand with your LED. Even, oh, my opponent has Daze. Even if you have enough things to do in your hand. And I can only do a play like that. Let's pay the 1. I can only do a play like that because I have a deep understanding of the current meta. Okay, my opponent cracks Misty. 1 Daze down. My opponent has 5 cards and at least 1 land in their hand. What? A second daze? So maybe my opponent... This is not good for my opponent's deck, considering that I have 3 lands and LED. So if my opponent is doing that, it's because they have dazes and maybe stifles, but no forces. In this case, I think it is... Unless my opponent is a complete genius and have 2 dazes plus force. But either way, we have now dredgers in our graveyard and a Stifle Tempo for next turn. So this would be still good. What else, opponent? Okay, our breakthrough is resolving. And we got 2 dazes from my opponent's hand already. Shenanigans, and we need to discard 3 cards because our breakthrough was x equals to 1. It seems that we still have 1 extra land for next turn. And we play only 14 lands. Oh, my opponent is Stifling. Or Narcomoeba. As expected, but now we have Poxwalkers. Do you have an extra Stifle, opponent? So 2 dazes, 1 Stifle. My opponent's hand is 2 lands and 3 other cards. It doesn't seem like my opponent has Surgical or Fairy Macabre. Maybe another Stifle? Or boats? It doesn't seem like that my opponent has a second Brainstorm. If my opponent has another counter spell, this is such a bad spell to counter, right? Otherworldly Gaze with Flashback, since Poxwalkers is already entering. So now what? Is it resolving? Yes. Nothing good, actually. Let's put everything into our graveyard. Next turn we can Dredge, crack Stifle Tempo, and cast Ox. Ox is good for next turn since now we have a second red mana source in our hand. Let's see my opponent's secrets with this first therapy. It's our single one. What to name here? Huh? My opponent has an answer. Okay, 3 dazes. 3 dazes. 3 is a charm. 3. I'm telling to my opponent here, 3 dazes. Whoa, amazing. So my opponent now had this temporary Armageddon effect. Just 3 lands came back to their hand. And if they have Grafdigger's Cage on top, we have Shenanigans in our graveyard. We can cast Shenanigans and crack Stifle Tempo the same turn. I don't think my opponent has answers to what we will do. So let's Dredge 6. Cabal Therapy, Breach. Well, let's check our sideboard here. I think we don't have Anger anymore, right? Yeah. Because of the Wasteland risk, I'm not playing with Anger against my opponent. So let's attack first. Let's guarantee this 3 points of damage. But I think we will have everything to win, ready to win next turn. So let's see my opponent's secrets here. Maybe I should just name another Stifle. Because I intend to crack Stifle Tempo and cast Oxophagonas in the same turn. Both of them have incredibly good triggers. So let's name Stifle. Yay! Yeah, so my opponent cannot do anything else. Let's just win. And my opponent conceded. This looked easy, guys, but this match had a great amount of small decisions. We are 3-1. Just a second while I'm checking some things here. I think my laptop is overheating for some reason. Okay, we are on the play, and it's a mulligan. Oh, this is so tempting, but hands like this usually are not good anymore, right? We discard our hand. I know my opponent usually plays blue decks. My opponent already had a mulligan to 6 as well, so they might have a Force of Will. And if my opponent counters my first LED, my second LED loses so much of its force. This is tempting. This could potentially win games. I would keep this on the draw, but on the play, I think this is also not that good. But this is better, because we can play LED and hope for a land on top. I'll keep this, guys. This is not good, but with LED plus looting plus breakthrough, I think we might be closer to a win here. Okay, LED resolved. Hopefully, we'll have a land on top. My opponent plays Polluted Delta and passes. And we will draw another Dredger. Okay, let's wait 1 more turn. And my opponent has Undercity Sewers. Surveying. We have 3 great Dredgers, but I know for a fact, just cracking LED and slow dredging like a terrible manaless dredge in Legacy these days. Not the good manaless dredge decks are putting up results, so you don't want to play like a bad manaless dredge build without the great cards that manaless usually have. If you are playing mana dredge, you need mana. These days, you unfortunately need. I won several leagues and tournaments and matches in the past. 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Not 7, yeah, I started playing Legacy 7 years ago. And then you could just discard your hand with LED and win some matches easily. But this is not the case anymore. My opponent played 2 Pounders, 1 Brainstorm, and a Tamio. This can be a Reanimator spell, a Reanimator deck. We still don't have lands, but this can also be just Tempo. It feels weird. The pain in my throat is getting better, but my voice is not. I feel like my voice is scratched. My opponent has Verdant Catacombs. They could give us at least one of their lands. We would like that. Murktide Regent. Okay, guys, we have 2 or 3 turns to have something. Let's discard Grave Troll to our hand size. My opponent draws an extra card. And at this point of the game, it's almost pointless, but we are fighters, and we will fight. What is the matter here? My opponent has a fast clock. Oh, and Cling to Dust? Okay, so yeah. Best draw here is probably Stifle Tempo because we could discard our hand Brainstorm, alright? Tamio flips. Yeah, I think at this point of the game, the only chances that we have here, my opponent definitely have at least one counterspell, right? Unless they are like our previous opponent with 3 daisies. Oh, Stifle Tempo. Okay, guys. It will not be easy here. It is tempting to just go for Breakthrough, but please don't do that. This is turn 6. Your opponent has 5 cards in their hand and several lands in play. Your opponent definitely have forces here. So just crack Stifle Tempo. Let's go. Dredge 6. And Otherworldly Gaze helps us a lot in situations like this. Dredge again. Okay, let's cast Otherworldly Gaze. My opponent said, ouch. but this is not guaranteed. This is not a win guaranteed. Let's see if my opponent will counter this Otherworldly Gaze here or not. With Daze, alright. So my opponent has 4 unknown cards in their hand. We have 2 Therapies and 1 Dredge Return. So let's focus on Brainstorm or Force of Will here. I don't think my opponent has Brainstorm. At this point of the game, I don't think my opponent has another Brain. They could have. Let's name Force of Will. Yeah, Force of Will, Tamio, Entomb, and Brazen Bawer. Guys, we might have the win here. We might have the win here because we have Dredge Return and Ox of Agonas there. So, not the win per se, because we still have 35 cards in our deck. Satoru would be better than Ox here. But, okay, let's name Entomb, right? Since my opponent is letting me do that. Entomb is the only card that my opponent can cast this turn. And we don't care that much about the others. This Dredge Return here, this Ox of Agonas will probably reveal more sweet cards for us, and then we can help our opponents to clean their hand. It's a Mind Twist and Legacy, legal in Legacy. Ox, Dredge 6, and Dredge 5. Narcos are good, another Dredge Return is actually good. Poxwalker's Breach. Okay, guys, we will win. We will win this game. Be patient, guys, be patient. We must learn to be patient. Now let's think here. I already used 1 Dredge Return, so we cannot win with Thassa's Oracle anymore. The best thing we can do here is casting Therapy, targeting my opponent, and then I'll sacrifice my Ox here, so I can reanimate it again with Dredge Return. This way, we'll have more zombies and we can have access to our last threats in hiding in our deck. Let's name Brazen Bawer. Now my opponent has a sad Tamio, and we'll just getting our second Ox. We could sacrifice a zombie token instead of an Narcomoeba just to have more Narcomoebas in case my opponent has an incredible spell on top. But we are so healthy on 14 life here that Murktide is not the worst, and we have an Narcomoeba, so I think that's fine. Narcomoeba to block, I mean. So now if we had a 3rd Dredge Return, this would be a win with Thassa's Oracle. Dredge. Okay, Cabal Therapy and Narcomoeba. We already have our 3 bridges. Let's just roll here. Symphonic Coliseum here. We already have more than lethal to next turn. So what I really wanted is to cast our last Cabal Therapy to take that last card from my opponent's hand. Tamio, Inquisitive Student. 2 weeks ago, I named Tamio Collector of Tales against an opponent. I was so distracted. I almost scooped because of my shame, but I didn't. I had another therapy, so I had an opportunity to win. Yeah, because of my opponent found an extra Tamio. So my opponent has 2 blockers. They are Hellbent. And we definitely need to kill Tamio this turn, so let's do the math here. Oh, we draw a Volcanic Island. So now, because of, well, we will not do much with lands this turn, but this is good. Having access to our mana this turn is good. Let's attack. Poxwalkers will attack Tamio. So let's consider the situation here where my opponent blocks just to trying to keep Tamio on board. So if they block Ox and Poxwalkers, we still need to attack Tamio with 3 zombies, right? Because 3, no, 4. 4, 5, 6 damage, yeah. So if we use our best creatures plus 4 zombies to attack Tamio, we'll kill Tamio for sure. Even with all of our creatures getting -1/-1. We don't need to attack with Necromebas. And the other creatures can attack my opponent. You should think, guys. You should think. Magic is luck, is math, is love. Let's use the whole crew of zombies to attack simultaneously Tamio and our opponent. This is not a final turn yet. My opponent will have a remaining life after that. But they might not even block, unless they want to exile my bridges. They can use Tamio to block Ox or Poxwalkers just to kill Tamio on purpose. But at this moment, I don't think exiling bridges will do much difference for my opponent. Okay, they are killing Ox because we already have 26 zombies, 28 if you consider Poxwalkers. And you have some more now because of my opponent killing Ox. My opponent has only a sad Marktide trying to recover from a zombie apocalypse. And what to do, right? We have exactly, 10, 19, yeah, 19 zombies plus 2 Poxwalkers. My opponent has Cling to Dust, yeah. But they need to draw something, so they will target Otherworldly Gaze, yeah, just to draw something. So this is an extra card for them. But I don't think my opponent has Toxic Deluge, right? Yeah, my opponent conceded. Woo, guys, this was such a game 1. We had a terrible, terrible hand, and we started to do something only on turn 6. But my opponent had a slow hand, and we got lucky. Got a lucky situation for our deck there, and it paid off. So this is blue-black Reanimator, but with lots of tempo strategies mixed together. So Line of the Void is something that sometimes I kind of want to include, sometimes I don't. And this is our first Reanimator deck in this tournament. It is a consideration on the draw. Should I include Line of the Void and nothing else? Because against my opponent, I don't want the Satoru combo, because my opponent can reanimate my Satoru, and that would be so bad for us. I kind of want to keep Ox, but if I... This is a hard balance to find. You include ley lines, but then you don't have enough threats to win the game. You need to be careful here. Not all the blue-black Reanimator are playing the same cards in the sideboard these days. Some decks has Barrowgoyf, some decks have Doughty Voidwalker. Oh, this is great. We have our single copy of Into the Floodmaw in our hand, and Line of the Void, and a plan. Let's skip. Keep. My opponent is running into 6. I don't think Leilani will be that much better on game 2 compared to game 1, because my opponent definitely have something more, a gameplay towards tempo here instead of reanimation. Let's do our thing, right? I think we cannot play around Wasteland with this hand, unfortunately. So let's cast Looting. Okay, it's resolved. We discard 2 Grave Trolls. Grave Troll is good because my opponent cannot properly cast Reanimate targeting Grave Troll, especially with the Line of the Void in play. So Tamio attacks us, my opponent gains a Clue token and Brainstorm, alright. So Tamio flips. Now we need to be fast, but we don't have fast things to do in our hand. Into the Floodmaw can bounce Tamio, so this is a good tool to have at our disposal. And Otherworldly Gaze is also a good tool to find, okay, my opponent has Thoughtseize. I would say the Otherworldly Gaze is the better card here for our game plan, but Into the Floodmaw is probably the worst card for our opponent if they don't have counterspells. So they might, yeah, they chose Into the Floodmaw. They will try to win with Tamio. Oh, Surgical Extraction. Okay, my opponent had a Surgical targeting our Grave Troll. It was too juicy to not do it, considering that we don't have another thing to do. So in Otherworldly Gaze we trust. My opponent's actions show to us that they probably don't have, yeah, they don't have Graveyard hate, counterspells, I mean. So let's draw our Cephalic Coliseum for next turn. I will play it because if my opponent has Wasteland, they will probably Wasteland our Volcanic Island anyways. So we don't need to worry about that. Tamio goes up. Oh, my opponent will reanimate our Dredger. Oh, things are getting worse and worse. How can we win here now? We have 3 Thugs and 3 Stinkwood Imps remaining as our Dredgers. Let's dredge 4, right? But we have 2 Poxwalkers in our hand. We did hit another Dredger there, but we need Necromebas here. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. Let's crack Cephalic Coliseum. Dredge 5. We did hit an Necromeba, unfortunately, in our hand. Okay. Let's discard our Dredgers and Therapy. And we can try again next turn, but it seems that my opponent's Tamio will ultimate for sure, making things harder for us. We need to hit bridges for next turn. We already have 2. Luckily, we can achieve our remaining bridge and maybe our... I don't know, guys. I'll not even think here. Let's just play. My opponent has Brainstorm. Tamio goes up, preparing the ultimate. And then my opponent will draw dozens of cards. Let's dredge here. Okay, we have another Poxwalkers there. Let's activate Stifle Tempo here. Dredge 4. Dredge 4 again. And we did hit another land, which is not the worst. Poxwalkers... We can here, before Tamio ultimates, and before my opponents draw their entire deck, we can at least... let's count here. Do we still have any lands to fetch? Yeah, we do. So let's play Scouting Turn. I'll crack it. We don't have Anger, and we don't have Ox, so basic island it is. And this is it, guys. Let's put lethal damage here. My opponent is down to 13 because of Surgical and because of Reanimate. My opponent is on a low life, so maybe we can put enough pressure to win the game, even after Tamio's ultimate. 3 Poxwalkers plus several zombies is no joke. My opponent doesn't have that much mana, so let's name Brazen Bawer. Oh, my opponent has Tamio and Force of Will, and Doughty Voidwalker. At this point of the game, we don't care that much about Doughty, because Tamio will ultimate anyways. So the thing is, my opponent needs a way to get rid of our creatures, because we have more than lethal on board. We have more than 20 damage coming in next turn. So let's just name Tamio, because it could be a blocker, and it can... my opponent could flip a second Tamio next turn and, I don't know, do some weird things. And now we pass the turn, guys. We have lethal on board. It is not easy. My opponent might have... I don't think my opponent plays something weird like Plague Engineer, right? Engineered Explosives, maybe. My opponent drew 24 new cards. They have such a sweet hand of 27 answers. The question is, do you have the answer to beat our zombies? My opponent... even if my opponent has 3 blockers, let's say they play here like Orcish Bowmasters, 4 blockers. It's okay. We'll still deal 10 damage and kill several blockers. So it's not easy. My opponent needs Atraxa, but if they bounce Leyline of the Void, they don't have enough tools to find Atraxa with lifelink, I mean. And at the same time, reanimate it. They don't have enough mana. So the secret to win against a turn 1 Tamio, turn 2 Tamio Planeswalker is just pressure your opponent. But let's see, my opponent might have something that I am not thinking of. They are definitely thinking a lot here. This is so tense, guys. It's not every day that you win against a Planeswalker like Tamio, drawing 24 cards. My opponent shuffles their library after a Ponder. That's a good sign. And just because my opponent started with a Ponder, that's an incredibly good sign. I told to my opponent, I'm crossing my fingers here for no answer to my creatures. Oh, my opponent telling me that they didn't draw explosives, engineer explosives. So this was their out. Brainstorm? But yeah, there is nothing that my opponent can do now with a single black mana. Yeah, my opponent concedes and we won, guys. 2-0 against the boogeyman of the format. And let's keep going. Alright, guys, round 6. We are paired against Achilles, 27. And this hand is unfortunately a mulligan, but this hand is so much better. Okay, let's skip it. The thing is, are we playing this as a turn 1 or not? My opponent is also mulliganing. We'll put Poxwalkers back, but after that I'm not sure here how to proceed. Let's see if our LED will resolve. I think this is a case to... let's just play LED and see how my opponent answers that. Okay, it resolved. I will play Careful Study here, but without going for the combo. Okay, it resolved quickly this time. Let's discard 2 Dredgers and pass the turn. And now we will know what my opponent is playing. Underground Sea. So maybe another blue-black deck. Let's dredge 6. Narco is great, and now we have Breach. We still have our Sync with him from last turn. We have Looting. So let's go for it, right? I'll grab a second Volcanic Island here. And I'll cast Auto Gaze first. Maybe we can hit a Cabal Therapy here. It would be amazing to... Okay, no Therapy is all, but Stifle Tempo. Oh, can we wait for it? My opponent can be playing blue-black Tempo here. Can we wait for it? Let's wait, guys. In case my opponent... aliás, better saying, let's not wait. Let's try to resolve this Faithless Looting. But if my opponent has an answer, Force of Will or Negation, or Spell Pierce, or whatever. Then we have our Coliseum on top. I think this is probably better. We could also try to resolve everything on the next turn. Okay, it's resolving. Okay, Dredge 6, so no worries. Dredge 6, Dredge 5. We have several therapies. Poxwalker's Bridge, 1 Bridge. We don't have the win this turn, but 3 therapies in a row are excellent. So what to name here? Probably Brainstorm. Let's see if my opponent will cast something in response. Or Entomb. Let's see. Entomb. Oh no, it was Brainstorm, but it is a Reanimate deck. Okay, my opponent decided to not cast that Brainstorm, even if we were comboing off. Okay, now my opponent will cast Brainstorm just to hide information. I think we need to name Reanimate, even if my opponent... Because my opponent can find an extraordinary top 3 cards, a group of cards, and then they can... Or maybe just... now they have Entomb plus Reanimate, and Entomb can shuffle the deck. So let's name Reanimate. It can still be in my opponent's hand. Oh no, my opponent just hide information, and now they have Tamio, Thoughtseize. If my opponent's top card is Reanimate, I think we have this in the bag, guys. We are putting more and more pressure with our zombies here. Let's just name Tamio. I don't care too much about whatever else my opponent has. And they don't have great cards to reanimate from our grave, so it is fine. My opponent plays Flooded Strand and passes. What do they have? Orcish Bowmasters? Let's Dredge 6 here. I was waiting for a Wasteland plus Reanimate, but... Okay, let's try to resolve Ox, I think. Let's try to resolve Ox of Agonas. I think that's the best we can do. Exiling 8 cards. Let's clean this. So my opponent has 1 unknown card, and it is not blue. So I think we just win, guys. We have Hasty Zombies here. Angry. We have anger. We are angry, and yeah, my opponent conceded. I used to play a lot against my opponent, but I remember when they had green decks instead of blue-black Reanimator. Against blue-black, it felt a little bit short for my opponent here. That Brainstorm wasn't that good. So now what? I think we can do something similar, but since I am always testing slightly different things here because I'm updating my sideboard guide, and we are ahead. My opponent is a Wasteland deck, so Anger is not that good after sideboarding. The Line of the Void is maybe important on the draw. I remember once one of my Reanimator opponents bounced my Line of the Void and then found an Atraxa, and I had the tools to stabilize, but I couldn't win because of the life gain. So let's try to keep Thassa's Oracle this time and see what happens. Everything is possible. Let's mulligan this, and this is so much better. This can be a turn 1. If my opponent has a Thoughtseize, it would be worse, but I think it is probably good enough, especially because my opponent can have Doubt Voidwalker on turn 2. So having a possible turn 1 is... Oh, Ghost Vacuum! Forget about what I was saying. Where are my shenanigans? Okay, let's try to... What? We need to draw some more enablers with this looting here. The best card to play around Ghost Vacuum is Otherworldly Gaze, because it's an instant. Let's see if this LED resolves. Oh, my opponent will force my LED. Okay, so let's loot here. My opponent can exile 2 cards from my graveyard until my next turn. So let's put our thugs there. Now my opponent has only 3 cards, 4 cards after my turn in their hand. And this Ghost Vacuums eats their first card. It's a Golgari Thug. I was laughing because of Wasteland and I had a mountain, but now I'm crying because 2 vacuums are... Yeah, guys. Buckle up, guys. This is going to be hard. Okay, we can cast our Narcomoeba here. And start pressuring our opponent with our 1/1 flying, right? It seems my opponent kept a hand with 2 vacuums, 2 forces, Wasteland, and we are not seeing cantrips yet. My opponent eats now our looting. Okay, it's a good option. And my opponent plays Underground Sea and passes. Alright, we draw. Otherworldly Gaze, which is good, but against 2 vacuums, I don't know. Let's attack with Narcomoeba, and we'll cast Otherworldly Gaze on my opponent's end step. Or maybe if okay, my opponent is tapping their first vacuum now, and their second vacuum. Okay, so let's try now, because we can always hit a Narcomoeba on top. Yeah, Narcomoeba is on top, and this Scouting Turn can be Underground Sea, and then we can cast Poxwalkers. So now our clock is faster. Okay, at some point my opponent will draw something, right? But at least we have our Narcomoebas there. My opponent plays a basic island. Okay, they are preemptively play, exiling our Otherworldly Gaze. Let's attack first, putting my opponent down to 16, I believe, unless they have some answer. Okay, no answers. Down to 16. My opponent has 4 cards, 4 lands in play, and 2 unknown cards in their hand. They might be Force of Will and a blank, like Murktide Regent. My opponent cannot cast Murktide without a graveyard. Or Poxwalkers is resolving. My opponent's vacuums are holding everything together here. Another land for my opponent. Okay, this time my opponent can grab a Surveil land, probably. Another Narco. Guys, I believe my chances to win here is just casting creatures and attacking, flying through their Ghost Vacuums. My opponent now is down to 11. If we resolve this Narcomoeba, we need only 2 more turns to win. Okay, my opponent cracks Polluted Delta. Oh, is it Force? Is my opponent casting Force of Will for full price to counter our Narcomoeba? Legacy is amazing. 2 vacuums at full force. If my opponent has another land, they can sacrifice a vacuum to have Golgari Thug as a blocker. And if this is the case, we will not attack with Poxwalkers, right? They already have 5 lands. Never forget, guys, Ghost Vacuum can be sacrificed to put creatures exiled with it on top. You see here? With a flying... oh no, everything flies, alright. Yeah, because they are ghosts. Oh, my opponent is reanimating our Narcomoeba. That's awesome. My opponent had 6 mana. Now my opponent is Hellbent. And suddenly we cannot attack with Poxwalkers anymore. Even attacking with Narcomoeba is weird. Let's see, let's think here. If we attack with everyone, my opponent blocks Poxwalkers and then next turn can sacrifice Ghost Vacuum and having 2 cards. We don't have many good tools here. Our sideboard was focused on... Yeah, usually I don't expect Ghost Vacuum from Reanimator deck. So that means we cannot attack? Or maybe we... The thing is, even if we attack here, my opponent will have blockers sacrificing Ghost Vacuum next turn. Let's see. Maybe my opponent will hold Narcomoeba and will not block to... Oh, my opponent will block. Trying to wait one more turn. What? Okay, my opponent is really confident that they will find another land on top, I think, because this was pretty weird. I was here rambling about how my opponent could put several creatures with Ghost Vacuum in play, but my opponent decided not to do this and just... I'm sorry, just destroying my land instead. If my opponent can't find another land, we have the win in 2 turns. We will draw. Poxwalkers would be good, but my opponent unfortunately had an answer. Let's attack. Okay, nothing from my opponent's side. They need a land to have 2 blockers. If they find a land, they will probably win the game. Is it happening? How many lands my opponent has in their deck? Unbelievable! Unbelievable! My opponent is drawing several next cards to see the top of their deck. Guys, never give up, never surrender. Never. We are 5-1. Guys, this is huge. Round 7 against Otakkun. This is the only opponent that is... I mean, the only player in the whole tournament. This was a mulligan, and this is unfortunately a mulligan as well, I think. We could try to keep this, but if my opponent has an answer to our looting, this hand is so bad. As I was saying, my opponent is the only player that has 0 losses in this tournament. Invincible. And we had 1 loss to lands, but so far our record is amazing. If we win against my opponent's deck, against my opponent, let's mulligan this. We will enter the top 8 for sure. If we lose, we have... Oh gosh, deck. Let's keep this and hope that my opponent will cast a Thoughtseize on us. I think that's the best chance, right? Yeah, you must know your chances here. What a bad mulligan. Okay. We have 2 great Cephalic Coliseums. So as soon as we draw a looting or an LED, we might cook something. My opponent kept 7 cards. Okay, just an Undercity Sewers. So as I was saying, if we lose, even if we lose, since we were paired up against the best player so far in the tournament, I think even if we lose, we have chances to advance to the top 8. But nothing is guaranteed, so let's play for a win. Please, opponent, cast Thoughtseize targeting me. Come on. Yeah, this Ponder will find you a Thoughtseize, and then you cast Thoughtseize targeting me for sure. I know that. I trust you. You know you want it. Cast a Thoughtseize. Oh, Underground CN. Another Ponder. 3 Ponders. My opponent is a Pondering Mage. We have so many great draws here because we are immune to daze. So anything with flashback is amazing. LED is good. LED. Alright. Alright. Let's... my opponent will counter it, right? Let's cast it. Please. 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 Please, opponent. Just an LED. Nothing scary. My opponent has Force of Will. Exiling Daze. It makes sense. Let's play another Cephalic Coliseum. and pass a turn. Come on, opponent. Scouting turn. Cracking it. I should probably hold my Stifle Tempo instead of playing them, right? Just to... Oh, Barrowglyph. Okay, now we have an excuse to just cast Synchronip as a blocker. Another Dredger, come on. My opponent has 4 cards in their hand. This is something that we could do last turn, but it was not a good play if your opponent is a Reanimator deck. But is my opponent playing blue-black mid-range? Or maybe this is blue-black Reanimator with the twist, like playing a couple of Barrowglyphs in the main deck just to have an advantage against other blue-black decks. So my opponent has Tamio, or maybe just blue-black Tempo. Wasteland, okay. My opponent destroys our Underground Sea, 3 cards in their hand. No Brainstorms as... Okay, my opponent is not attacking. Can you imagine if we win this? Another Dredger, oh no. All of our Dredgers on the top 9 cards. Okay, my opponent is a Reanimator deck. They have Entomb, Atraxa is there. Okay, now no movement from my opponent. Oh, my opponent will attack with Tamio. Okay, so they have a clue and will block. That means my opponent probably have Brainstorm, or maybe they just need the draw. Okay, they have Brainstorm. I saw opponents in the past doing this just to draw an extra card because they have a second Tamio or something like that. So that Barrowglyph is not doing much for my opponent yet. And now they will... Oh, Murktide? It's Murktide? Yeah. The 6/6 flying creature in my opponent has one last... Okay, my opponent doesn't have a force available here. Scouting turn. Okay, this now... if we draw a Faithless Looting, if... at least we can cast it. Come on back, I believe you. You can do better than that. Other City Silvers is there. My opponent kept the card on top, which is incredibly scary. Oh, it's a Ponder. Another one. The last Ponder. My opponent is 21 cards, 22 cards deep into their deck. And they didn't shuffle, so they kept the card on top. Is my opponent attacking? Oh, my opponent is attacking, indeed. So let's block Barrowglyph here. Synchronip Imp kills it. And now we have Imp in our graveyard. What does my opponent have? What does my opponent have? Black mana. Oh, they will reanimate Atraxa now. Okay. And my opponent can reanimate my Imp after that if they want to. I was hoping to see no reanimates from the other side because we can win against a resolved Atraxa. My opponent chose Reanimate Underground, Brainstorm, and Tamio. And now they reanimate my Synchronip, yeah. But my opponent doesn't have force. So come on. Looting, ADD. Oh no, my opponent now has force. Yeah, Tamio goes down to take Force of Will back. This was smart, because now we cannot win, right? Yeah, Satoru will not save us here. Let's concede. This was interesting. Barrowglyph in the main deck. My opponent minusing Tamio to get Force of Will back. Multiple Ponders and Reanimates. Now what? Being on the play, guys, against a Reanimator without knowledge about what they are bringing against you, I would just submit the deck back. This is our first loss against Reanimator this afternoon. I think it's too defensive these days to include Leyline of the Void in the main in games 2 and 3 on the play, unless your opponent is a Turbo Reanimator deck or something like that. But in case of these current blue-black Tempo/Reanimator tier S decks that we have in Legacy, I usually prefer to not include many cards on the play, while on the play. I need more tea. Alright, we are on the play this time with an awful hand. Come on back, you can do so much better than that, we know that. Hey! Let's see my opponent. We'll not keep that. We need to go to 5. You can see here, guys, my opponent is the first rank, and we are temporarily on the top, on 4th. Okay, this can be a turn 1, and I'm playing this like a turn 1. So that my opponent countered. Dredge Return is good if we play this as a turn 1. But if my opponent counters my LED, it is better to keep 2 lands so we can cast Breakthrough with X equals to 1 on turn 2. So this is an important decision here. Keeping a land or Dredge Return as our 5th card. I'll keep the land. My opponent is having mulligans this time. They are going to 5. So let's see. I'll play LED. And Safari Coliseum, this time LED resolves. So I think my opponent doesn't have Force of Will here. And I'll go for it. Because my opponent, even with only Thug, but I think this is the best we can do. Dredge 4. Yes. Dredge 5. Yes! 2 other Dredgers. No looting. Oh, we couldn't find a red spell. But we have 2 Narcos, Cabal Therapy, Dredgers. We did our thing. Unfortunately, it wasn't good enough, but maybe it is good enough, actually. Let's see. Because we can reanimate Satoru here. We have Dredge Return and Satoru. So my opponent definitely doesn't have Force of Will, right? I'll name in Tomb. My opponent might have a fast hand for turn 2. Okay, my opponent has Reanimate, Brainstorm, and Tamio. So they have the Tamio road. But luckily, we have Satoru to save the day. Come on, Satoru. Please, find us our third Narcomoeba, or a combination of Poxwalkers and Cabal Therapy. Dredge 5. Now, Dredge 5. Cabal Therapy is here. Do I want to take anything from my opponent's hand? I think I want to take Brainstorm, right? I don't care too much about Tamio, and if I take Tamio, my opponent will just reanimate Tamio. So let's name Brainstorm here. It's the card that allows my opponent to get a better start. And okay, guys, we have 4 power in play. But now we can just slow Dredge us into a win, unless my opponent has great top decks. Having Satoru in play is so good. Oh, my opponent is casting Reanimate? Oh, no! My opponent did a bad move here. Throwing... Yeah, now this is a shame scoop. My opponent tried to reanimate or Gargrave Troll, but no, you cannot do that. Especially if your graveyard doesn't have anything. If this is a no creatures, I mean. You understood what just happened, right, guys? Gargrave Troll entered the battlefield on the side of my opponent, but it was killed immediately because it looked into my opponent's graveyard for creatures, and my opponent didn't have creatures, so Gargrave Troll was killed, and we got zombies because Bridge triggers when a creature goes into our graveyard. It doesn't matter if he died on the other side or if he hits your graveyard, Bridges will trigger. So, okay. Now we will be on the draw. On the draw against this opponent, we saw Reanimate on my opponent's hand of 5. So on the draw, I think we need Leyline of the Void. And that's it. I'll still keep Thassa's Oracle here, but this is because I'm just testing things, guys. In my heart, I don't think Thassa's Oracle is actually... So you might think, why am I doing this? This is a keep because we can win with Cephalic Elysium. Why is Mahfuz keeping Thassa's Oracle if he says that Oracle is maybe not the best card on game 3? Well, because I do this, right? My opponent is just pondering, all right. I do this because I had some opportunities to lose to Reanimator, and Atraxa was the only way to win. Let's see, if my opponent cannot counter this, we can... Okay, come on. Thug, I need to believe in you one more time. You need to find some dredgers on top. Please, dredge 4. Oh, we couldn't. And no other early gaze. Yeah, that is super unfortunate. Now we need to find Narcomoeba, but my opponent can reanimate our single dredger. So not easy. But my opponent had a shuffle. Okay, Doubt Void Walker. Forget it. Guys, we did everything right. No regrets here. We tried our best, and my opponent had a turn 2 Doubt Void Walker. We almost had a turn 1 win. So let's hope for the best here. If maybe we can enter the top 8. I think we will barely enter the top 8 here. We did it. We entered the top 8 in the last position because we lost to otakkun in the previous round. But we have some great tiebreakers here, as you can see. Compared with the guy behind us, our tiebreakers are just better. This is because the Lens opponent is also in the top 8. So our 2 losses were to great opponents in this tournament. The thing is that as the last player here, I will probably be paired against the first. So maybe we have a rematch against otakkun. Yeah, guys, that's right. We are paired against our previous opponent. So we know about Barrogoyfs in the main. And we know about Doubt Void Walkers. We know that we need to be fast. And this hand is not even half of one of those things. We are unfortunately on the draw because my opponent had a better result overall. But this is a kip. Let's put Narco back to be shuffled back into our deck. And let's see, my opponent will not have a turn 1, so just a Surveil land, alright. My opponent don't want Brainstorm, alright. And we will draw Bridge, not the best. We have 2 Bridges now. So any Narcomoeba, we have a chance to... What is happening? Any Narcomoeba will have a chance to be transformed in at least 2 zombies. Okay, Scalding Tarn is in play. Let's see if this LED resolves. My opponent kept 7 cards on the play. I'm expecting big things. And my opponent is thinking here. It's just an LED opponent. Nothing scary. Just a 0 mana artifact. It's like a Mishra's Bauble or something like that. Nothing scary. Please let me resolve my LED. Oh no. Okay, my opponent is countering, exiling Brazen Bawer. So now my opponent has 4 cards in their hand. And since my opponent chose Force of Will instead of Negation, maybe my opponent doesn't have Force of Negation in the main deck. So let's cast Otherworldly Gaze immediately here. Okay, it resolved, and we have Stifle Tempo on top. I think we keep it, right? Especially if my opponent reanimates my Stinkweed Imp, which is a possibility. They like to Reanimator things, like we saw in the previous match. So let's keep Stifle Tempo on top. This is a slow start, but maybe my opponent kept a slow hand. They put in Brainstorm in the graveyard. For me, it represents that they maybe needed a second land, or maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure. So my opponent is pondering. They played around days, you see? My opponent knows that we don't play days in this deck, but they played around days anyways. This is like muscle memory. They play patterns. It was probably better for my opponent to not play the land in advance, but this is something that I tell all of you many times here on my videos. Something that we must work on us to be better players. Okay, my opponent didn't shuffle. As Dredge players, I mean, let's draw our Stifle Coliseum, but let's play our Scalding Tarn. I think I'll cast Otherworldly Gaze immediately here. Let's guarantee our basic mounting. We need to fight against our pre-moves, right? This is not chess with bullet chess, I mean. You need to improve that, because sometimes, because of the muscle memory, you just play on your pre-moves. Okay, I'll play my land to play around days. Okay, my opponent has another Force of Will. Exiling Atraxa, that's a win for us. So no Atraxa this game, hopefully. And now my opponent plays Wasteland. So, and now my opponent has a Barrow-Goyf. But now we can probably win against this Barrow-Goyf. So let's Dredge. Narcomoeba is there. We have Grave Troll. So we at least have a blocker. If my opponent tries to destroy Narcomoeba, we have Breach. Let's Dredge. Dredge 6. Okay, great. Great, guys, great. This is that and totally different from what we saw previously. Let's discard our Bridges and 1 Grave Troll. Now we have 3 Bridges, Dredge Return, Poxwalkers, Anger. Let's see how many zombies we can put into play. We can create this turn. So 3 Bridges, my opponent has only 1 remaining card in their hand. Let's name Brazen Bawer, another one. Let's name Tamio here, because this could be a last resort. Oh, just a Thoughtseize, alright. Could be a last remaining card in my opponent's hand. So we don't have our big shots here to be reanimated, but since everything has haste, my opponent can go back to 23. Do I have the win regardless? Let's name Thoughtseize here, because if my opponent top decks a Brainstorm or something, it is 1 less card. More zombies for us. Now we can discard our Grave Trolls. Yeah, guys, I think we have the win here. My opponent can go back to 23, but we will have more than that. We already have more than 10 zombies here. So let's discard everything, so our Grave Troll will be huge. We can even... My opponent will block the Grave Troll, but it doesn't matter because we have so many zombies. And even if my opponent could survive this turn, our Grave Troll has regeneration. Yeah, your small Barrow-Goyf cannot survive a mass zombie attack like this. 21 zombies are attacking you, and you block a troll. So let's regenerate our troll. But it doesn't matter. Okay, minus 19 seems reasonable. Okay, guys, let's not celebrate. This was only game 1. But it was on the draw against our nemesis in this tournament. So yeah, we can celebrate a little bit. Now what? Satoru is probably not good against the Reanimator, especially on the draw. Passes Oracle, Dread Return, an Ox. We saw that my opponent had a Doughty Voidwalker on game 3 in the previous match, right? And they kept a hand with a natural turn 2 Doughty Voidwalker. So maybe we can keep Ox of Agonas in our deck. My opponent can reanimate it. 3 copies of Into the Floodmaw are enough. We could include the 4th. Into the Floodmaw is not the worst against other creatures that your opponent can have. It can also bounce a Planeswalker like Tamio. Okay, guys, we have a great starting hand for the first time in the previous matches. And this hand is interesting because if LED cannot resolve, we have Otherworldly Gaze plus Brick Front and 2. Hopefully, before my opponent can deploy a Doughty Voidwalker. My opponent kept 6 cards, Underground Sea and passes. But if my LED resolve this time, I will have 2 Dredgers, so Breakthrough will not fizzle this time. Is it resolving? No, my opponent has an answer. Force of Will exiling Force of Will, so I'm confident that my Otherworldly Gaze will resolve, but we don't need to cast it now. Brainstorm. Okay, now's the time. Because my opponent has only 2 cards in their hand, so less information is useful. Let's grab a Volcanic here, in case we have a Faithless Looting on top, and I will cast Otherworldly Gaze. My opponent has days, okay? So now my opponent's hand is Underground Sea and 1 card. And they will draw 3 with Brainstorm. This is a huge win for us, guys, because my opponent cannot cast Doubt Void Walker on turn 2 anymore. So in situations like this, it's okay. Days is completely fine. My opponent draws a card after their Brainstorm, so they did shuffle something. I believe they still have Underground Sea. A second Breakthrough is excellent. Let's cast our first Breakthrough here instead of Otherworldly Gaze, because if we hit Lion's Eye Diamond, we can even win. Okay, we couldn't hit a Lion's Eye Diamond. What to keep here? The other Breakthrough, right? Just in case. We could keep Into the Flood more here. That's my doubt. Because if my opponent has a Doubt Void Walker in play in their hand, if this is their remaining card, Into the Flood more, it would be better, of course. But if it is anything else than Doubt Void Walker, we will just win resolving this Breakthrough. So I chose Breakthrough, but okay, no Doubty. Oh. Okay. We still have 2 Into the Flood Malls in our deck. Cabal Therapy is not one of them. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze. Maybe you can hit 1 Into the Flood Mall for next turn. My opponent's hand is miserable. A Kumi Box and another mountain. We have Faithless Looting there. It would be so amazing to top deck Into the Flood Mall so we can bounce Doughty and win with Breakthrough in the same turn. Let's put this into our graveyard. I'll keep the mountain here because we can cast a Faithless Looting on the next turn, giving us more chances to have Otherworldly Gaze, Into the Flood Mall. So we draw a mountain. So more selection and more lands for us. My opponent has 3 cards in their hand. Oh, my opponent has Orcish Bowmasters. All right. So we'll have additional damage here. That's unfortunate, but that's life. We can deal with that for 2 turns. Come on. Looting and Cephalic Elysium. No. So Arc does some damage here. Yeah, it seems that my opponent kept a hand towards Temple instead of Graveyard, as expected. Tamio enters the battlefield. Can we find Into the Flood Mall and win on the spot? Nope. So looting can find us what we need. Draw. Orcish Bowmasters triggers. Oh, no. Okay, guys. Even if I play Cephalic Elysium and plays Breakthrough with X equals to 1, we'll still lose to everything else going on. But okay, I think we did everything right. Of course, we could there. That would be an amazing play. Can you imagine that? Instead of Breakthrough, I'll just skip it Into the Flood Mall, just in case the last card of my opponent's hand is a Doubt Void Walker, and it was. But now we are on the play, so we know better. Let's put the 4th copy of Into the Flood Mall in our deck instead of what? Or maybe, guys, you know what? I'm just tired of playing from behind against my opponent. We lost the previous match. Let's just play for a win without any changes. I mean, 0 fear. No Line of the Void, no Into the Flood Mall. It might seem like a crazy way to lose. But it seems to me that my opponent will prioritize access to Doubt Void Walker and counter spells on the play, but especially counter spells on the draw, because Doubt is only a turn 2 play. And having everything at our disposal will just give us more tools to find what we need. This is unfortunately not good. Let's mulligan. Come on. Come on. Wrong colors of mana. Can we keep this? Okay, guys, let's keep this. This is crazy. I know. This might not work. But if LED resolves, if Faithless Looting resolves, my opponent had a mulligan to 6. So let's analyze the potential here. We are on the play now. We just need to our opponent have days or anything, but no force. They can have a Doubt Void Walker. And then we can play Cephalic Elysium on turn 1 and LED. And then on turn 2 we play our second Cephalic Elysium, if we don't draw red mana. Discard our hand, resolve looting, achieve threshold, win the game on turn 2. We have 2 dredgers. Let's see if my opponent will prioritize Doubt Void Walker or tools to find Doughty. Now, if my opponent counters my LED, we need to draw something good. I'm risking everything here, guys. But this is a bet. And I bet this have chances to win. I don't want to put myself into a situation of mulligan to 4 to maybe have a chance to fight against the turn 2 Doughty. This hand can do it. My opponent is going to 5 after more than 1 minute in the tank. So not easy, not an easy decision. Okay, my opponent kept 5 cards. And we'll start with LED. Are you answering this LED opponent? Oh, my opponent has an answer. Okay, guys. Come on, no regrets. I know what I'm doing. We can lose, but this just give us a higher ceiling. My opponent has a scouting turn. We have several blue enablers, or maybe a new LED on top. Tamio. Okay, my opponent had the Tamio road. We draw. Dredge return, not exactly what we want. Let's see if we can still wait a little bit. My opponent had a mulligan to 5 with Force of Will, Blue Peach, Tameo, Underground Sea. I suppose, of course. Maybe one of those cards were the draw for the turn. Tameo's attack. A new clue token for my opponent. And my opponent is passing. Okay, my opponent doesn't have the second land yet. We have another Stifle Tempo. Guys, I will not play my lands here because I should mention this in the previous turn. Because our best bet here is just discarding a Grave Troll due to hand size and then cracking Stifle Tempo after that. Just playing lands here without ways to... Yeah, my opponent is stuck with a single land. Let's cross our fingers to see no lands from the other side of the table. My opponent kept a good hand with Force and Tameo, but they needed another land. And yeah, no lands from my opponent. We will discard the Grave Troll this turn, guys. This is turn 5, never surrender. We have a turn 6 Cephalic Coliseum, turn 7 Cephalic Coliseum, guaranteed. Unless my opponent has Wasteland. My opponent has 4 clues, but no way to draw extra cards. Oh, my opponent has Brainstorm, so Tameo will flip. But maybe this is just too late. Let's hope for no Wastelands. My opponent can have Doughty Voidwalker now because they cannot cast it. But no Wasteland, please. My opponent's taking a long time here to decide what to put back on top. Hopefully this is because there's nothing too good there. Okay, so Tameo goes up. And my opponent passes without... My opponent is Brainstorm locked. Come on, come on, come on, come on, deck. Dredge 6. We have 2 Dredgers there. We have exactly 3 showed. Let's crack Cephalic Coliseum. We can win this. We can win this. Come on, Dredge 6. Dredge 5. 1 Narcomoeba. 1 Cabal Therapy. Dredge 5. I see Poxwalkers there. Another Therapy. We have Dredge Return. We don't have anything huge to get back. We don't have Bridges yet. But we have Therapies. 1, 2 Therapies. And Poxwalkers. So we can at least pick our opponent's hand and force them to discard something. Let's discard Dredgers here. Narcomoeba enters. And let's cast our first Therapy. Maybe we need to cast our second. What to name here, actually? This is debatable. Force of Will is probably the best card to be named, because my opponent was holding so many cards. Daze is also a possibility. But we could... Oh, my opponent will not let me decide. Okay, since they are Brainstorm locked, this is a free Daze, it makes sense. Let's cast our second... I'm not scared of anything that my opponent can have with a single mana, right? They cannot reanimate anything bigger than my Poxwalkers here, because we have Death Touch. They can reanimate my Thassa's Oracle, if they want to. But I don't think I am scared of anything that my opponent can do with a single mana. So let's just pass a turn, because our Cabal Therapy can be so much better if we have some more tools, and we'll have them next turn, since my opponent is locked after that Brainstorm. My opponent has 7 cards in their hand. They are thinking. Oh, they are getting a card back, Brainstorm back. Okay, so they don't have cantrips. Oh, I see, my opponent is going to the cleanup phase like I do a lot. So they probably have Reanimate. So let's take that Reanimate from my opponent's hand this turn, right? They don't know about our Cephalic Coliseum. Guys, we are going to win this. We are actually going to win against our Nemesis. Not our Nemesis, the best player in the ranking part of this. I mean, our first Nemesis was the Lance player. Let's be fair to the Lance player. Let's kill Tameo, right? Why not? Before sacrificing Poxwalkers, just in case anything goes wrong. We will not win with anger this game. I'm sorry, I'm too excited. We are actually going to win this, guys. My opponent has 4 clues, but no lands. So no dazes are available to my opponent. Dredge 6, Dredge 6. We have Bridges, we have Ox, we have more Poxwalkers. We have 4 cards remaining in our deck, and 2 Narcos. We can even win with Thassa's Oracle, guys. Let's discard Dredge Return and some other cards. Yeah, we have the Thoracle win here because of Devotion to Blue. Let's cast Cabal Therapy, sacrificing Poxwalkers. So we'll definitely name Force of Will, and we also want to name Reanimate. But we'll just win here. So Force of Will, Force of Negation. You know what? I'll take that Brainstorm first, because we know about that, right? Yeah, my opponent has 2 forces there. And this is just because, in case my opponent had... I know, guys, this is just insurance, but since we have more than 1 Therapy, we are just fine here. But this was just insurance. Force of Will. Because Brainstorm is a pitch to Force of Will. So I know that my opponent will have less things to do. Let's just reanimate Thassa's Oracle here. And you see, my opponent had no Reanimate. Maybe Reanimate is the top card. But you know what? I'm not a scientist. I don't need to worry about what is on top of my opponent's deck, because I will win before that. Thassa's Oracle is here. Yeah, I would like to have an Narcomoeba. No, maybe Volcanic Island is better. So we can finally have Angry Zombies. And we won, guys. We are on the top 4 of this Legacy Challenge. And this was... Oh, I have only 1 minute to go to the bathroom. Let's come back even stronger on top 4. Top 4, guys. We are paired against JPA 93. And this hand is better, but not enough. This is better. Okay. I know that my opponent is an specialist like myself. Not in Dredge, but my opponent is a specialist in Sneak and Show decks. So what to put back here? Against the Sneak and Show, against other decks, like Tempo decks, I would not keep 2 therapies. But against my opponent, I will prioritize Disruption. Because they can have just a turn 2 win the game. So this is the rare cases where I... Oh, Underground Sea. Where I encourage you to go for a blind Cabal Therapy. Especially because we have Otherworldly Gaze and LED. So let's test my opponent's hand here. The Sneak and Show decks these days usually don't have days anymore, like in the past. LED resolved, so let's go for a Cabal Therapy. Our opponent kept 7 cards in their hand. They might have a Brainstorm or Veil here. Veil of Summer, alright. So we can cast Cabal Therapy again in the future, no problem. If this was a Thoughtseize, you feel bad because your opponent cycled a Veil of Summer and you lost a spell. But in the case of Cabal Therapy, we can do again next turn. Okay, we need to pay attention here. Cabal Therapy again. Okay, this resolved quickly. And we'll name Show and Tell, right? I know my opponent. Okay, it is a Show and Tell deck, indeed. My opponent has a Sneak Attack and the goodies. And also a Brainstorm and Force of Will. So we might be lost here. They don't have enough mana to cast a Sneak Attack yet. Let's cast our Otherworldly Gaze. Okay, okay. It feels bad to lose LED this way, but I have a line here, and I'll stick with it. So we have Careful Study on top. Since we have 2 therapies, we kept a hand of 5 with 2 therapies. Both of them didn't hit yet. And now we have a Poxwalkers. And we have Careful Study on top. Now we can cast Cabal Therapy twice. And this is probably better to disrupt my opponent's plan. Because then they will be forced to cast Brainstorm immediately. Just to hide their information. Okay, let's think here, because I was too excited to be on the top 4 and I wasn't thinking now. It seems everything is resolving. Okay, oh, Breakthrough! Now what? Let's keep Careful Study on top and Breakthrough on top of Careful Study. Because if my opponent counters my Breakthrough, we still have a Careful Study on top. And now... Okay, now my opponent will cast Brainstorm, of course. They will cast Brainstorm with Volcanic Island and not with Tropical Island. This is usually not the best way to get new spells if you want to shuffle back in your deck something, because my opponent now has no fetch lands. But this is the best way if my opponent has several Veil of Summers, because maybe my opponent find another one just to draw an extra card here, and this would be good for him. And there is another Cabal Therapy after this one. If my opponent don't have Veil of Summer, they needed to hide 2 goodies on top of their deck. Oh, my opponent will counter. That's actually good because we have a Breakthrough on top. Let's not forget. I'll cast my second Cabal Therapy here. And Sneak Attack is not the best name because my opponent might not have ways to cast it. I will name Atraxa here. Yeah, my opponent still had Atraxa and Sneak Attack, alright. But my opponent now can play Sneak Attack next turn, alright. And my opponent did shuffle Emrakul, right? No. What just... No, my opponent has Brainstorm. Yeah, no. So my opponent still has probably Emrakul on top. Only 1 card in my opponent's hand. And so they cannot answer this Breakthrough. We can cast with X equals to 1, just in case anything goes wrong. Dredge 6. Dredge 5. Dredge 5. And Dredge 4. Dredge return 3. Yeah, we have the win, guys. We have the win. Who will conquer the world today? Atraxa, Grand Unifier. Emrakul, the huge, giant Eldrazi mom. Or just a bunch of angry zombies trying to get their revenge. You bet. Satoru enters the battlefield. Come on, Satoru. Dredge 6. Okay, we have Therapy there. Targeting my opponent. I will name Emrakul, but my opponent probably did hide Emrakul deep into the deck, right? Like 2 cards from top. But if it's not Emrakul, I don't know what to name here. So I'll definitely name Emrakul. Maybe my opponent has 2 good cards on top. So let's name Emrakul, the Eon's Torn. Yeah, it's just a Sneak Attack. So the top card of my opponent's deck is Emrakul. Let's cast Cabal Therapy. More zombies. We couldn't hit Anger yet, but we'll definitely hit Anger. Yeah, now we have Angry Zombies. We can win with Thassa's Oracle too. Yeah, my opponent concedes. Woof. Guys, I can feel it. We'll go to the finals. Okay, my opponent is a great player, so and after sideboarding it will be harder. So let's think here. Against Sneak and Show, usually I want to include Shenanigans as a possible answer to Gravedigger's Cage, which seems to be the card that they have in their sideboards. And we could also leave some room to include 4 copies of Unmask, like we did in other matches today. Because of the presence of Veil of Summer and Lotus Petal, I don't think that my opponent is heavily blue, like several copies of Force of Negation, Flusterstorm, Spell Pierces, and everything after sideboarding, like some shells in the past. But I don't want to have fewer enablers after sideboarding against a blue deck on the draw. If I include 2 copies of Dredge Return, but only with Ox, let's think again. If I keep Ox, I don't need 3 Poxwalkers. Of course, Poxwalkers are great, but if I keep Ox, is this again a moment of including only 3 copies of Unmask? I would like to include the 4 copies, but my opponent is a Veil of Summer deck. Okay, let's try 3, and if we have a game 3, we'll reevaluate. I think this is already pretty good. If we have an Unmask, it will be good. If we don't, we didn't hurt our deck too much. And we have both here, guys. Unmask and Shenanigans. This is a good keep. We have access to all of our colors of mana. This is a great keep on 6. We unfortunately have this Narcomoeba, but this is fine. Hopefully. My opponent kept 7 cards. We will also keep 7. And they played Polluted Delta, Lotus Petal, and that's it. So my opponent is pushing here the idea that they have something, some show and tell on turn 2. So we need to cast this Unmask, targeting them, exiling Golgari, Fairy Macabre, Brainstorm, and Atraxa. Part of me want to take that Brainstorm because it's the best card in my opponent's hand, and the only play they have this turn. But I think we need to take Fairy, right? We can play around Fairy here and there, but my opponent is an experienced player, and he will probably do his best job with this Fairy Macabre here. So I think he will probably know what to do with Fairy. So yeah, I need to take Fairy. But against an maybe unknown opponent with this list, I'll probably take Brainstorm instead of Fairy. My opponent will Brainstorm. In response here, I'll cast my Otherworldly Gaze. So we know for sure that my opponent doesn't have counters. Okay, guys. Okay, this can be a win next turn. Unless this Brainstorm is out of this world for my opponent, this is a win next turn. My opponent doesn't have Show and Tell, doesn't have Sneak Attack. They have mana to do both, but if my opponent finds a Sneak Attack here, he still needs an extra mana to... He needs Sneak Attack, second copy of Lotus Petal, or Simian Spirit Guide. I'm not sure if my opponent is playing with them. And then just putting Atraxa. Atraxa is beatable. And we have a great sequence of cards on top of our deck. Let's hope for the best. What my opponent might have here is Show and Tell. So Show and Tell plus Atraxa finding Gravedigger's Cage. That would be bad. We have an answer to Cage. But then at that point my opponent will have counter spells probably. Okay, after a while my opponent decided what to do with that Brainstorm. Let's see. City of Traitors. Sneak Attack. Okay. Okay, guys, we have chances of winning the game this turn. This Faithless Looting needs to resolve. It resolved. Now, let's discard our Dredgers, right? Shenanigans is an extra Dredger here. This Breakthrough needs to be good. Without fizzling, please. Dredge 4. Dredge 5. Dredge 1. And we drew a Volcanic Island, not the worst. We have Faithless Looting in our... The thing here, guys, we need to actually discard everything, so no choices. But it is not like in the previous... match that we had Breakthrough with X equals to 1. But after that Brainstorm, my opponent probably hit Atraxa. We know that we need to name Atraxa here, right? Because Stock Up is not relevant anymore. But my opponent probably did the right thing and hit Atraxa behind, on top of their deck, I mean. On top of his deck. If I don't name Atraxa here, I'm naming Emrakul. But my opponent has only one... yeah, my opponent has only Stock Up. And 2 other lands. Those lands are bad for us because if my opponent puts Atraxa in play and if my opponent finds another huge creature here, okay, only Atraxas. Okay, this could be worse. My opponent can keep one Atraxa and play an extra Atraxa, trying to hit something else, but then they will not. He will not have another Lotus Petal anymore. Pyroblast. My opponent has Pyroblast against us. Yeah, there's always a chance to get us with Pyroblast, right? Especially if you have a Breakthrough hand. My opponent chooses stock up for Full Sneak Attack, Atraxa, and City of Traitors. Just a casual draw 5. Okay, he plays Volcanic Island. Okay, second Atraxa. It's legendary, so we lost our bridge immediately. Oh, now my opponent has Grafdigger's Cage and Fairy Macabre. And Emrakul. And Lotus Petal. And 2 remaining uncolorless mana. This was a great turn 3. This was a great turn 3 for him. This is amazing. My opponent now can... my opponent even don't need to play Grafdigger's Cage because he has the win. Okay, guys. This is one thing that I like in this match. Especially against Sneak Attack and Show. Because sometimes you think you have everything already decided in your favor or in your opponent's favor, and something else happens, and the tide goes to one side of the other side. Being on the play, maybe you can be more aggressive. Instead of unmask, I'm just keeping shenanigans. And, just a thoughts that I had here. Yeah, let's try like that. Because against my opponent is so good with his deck that I think that if I have the opportunity to try to win on Thassa's Oracle, I just want to. Let's mulligan this. Oh, no. We need to mulligan this, unfortunately. My opponent kept 7 cards. Oh, no. Okay, guys. This hand is not good. It is skippable. We'll try it. But if my opponent has any disruption spell, we must pray here for my opponent keeping a fast 7, like a turn 2 guaranteed win. Because we have a turn 2 guaranteed win here. If my opponent doesn't have a... Okay, let's name Grave Troll. If my opponent doesn't have ways to disrupt or break through. Or Graveyard. But if my opponent has a Fairy Macabre, for example, or a turn 1 Grafdigger's Cage. If they have a cage, we can dredge until we hit our shenanigans. My opponent ponders. Ponder is good. Ponder means that we'll have a next turn, and if my opponent can't find Lotus Petal, my opponent will not have Veil at his disposal. So Ponder is good. Best thing for us now is our Golgari Grave Troll revealing Narcomoeba. Better than that, Narcomoeba, Cabal Therapy, Poxwalkers. That would be excellent. And of course, 2 more Dredgers, because this is Dredge 6. Like the top 6 cards of our deck. Grave Troll, Cabal Therapy, Poxwalkers, Narcomoeba. This is what we need. My opponent shuffles. We have a chance here, guys. We kept a hand like an bad... Okay, Lotus Petal. So my opponent might have a Veil of Summer. Oh, this is a desperate Brainstorm. After shuffling on turn 1, wasting your Lotus Petal to Brainstorm. Okay. My opponent is trying to dig for a Fairy Macabre. Or maybe more forces, or maybe their only force. My opponent is passing the turn without any mana. This is good. Let's dredge 6. Come on. Okay, only bridges. But we have... Let's hope, right, guys? Let's hope. Breakthrough with X equals to 1. Oh, it's resolving. Dredge 6. Dredge 6. Dredge 4. And Dredge 5. No Narcos. That's unfortunate. We could keep a Golgari Grave Troll here or Sync with Imp in case my opponent has a turn 2 Show and Tell. But I'll keep Golgari Thug because if this is not the case, if my opponent has only an answer or something like that, we can at some point cast Golgari Thug to have an extra... Okay, Show and Tell. No Atraxa, please. We have a Golgari Thug in our hand. Emrakul is beatable. Alright. We can win against a turn 2 Emrakul. This is not that good. We have Otherworldly Gaze, so we have Poxwalkers, so we have the win. Narcomoeba, Satoru is there. No fairies for my opponent. We have the win here, guys. Guaranteed. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze. 2 Poxwalkers coming in to the party. Another couple of Narcos. Oh, and even LED on top. Okay, we don't need to do that, but we'll do that. Because why not, right? We are going to the finals of this Legacy Challenge. Let's cast Cabal Therapy, guys. I was in my bed until 40 minutes before the tournament starts. And then I decided, okay, let's have something to fight for. Naming Force of Will. Let's get out of this bed. Yeah, my opponent's hand was just a turn 2 Emrakul. And now we can cast Dredge Return, getting Satoru, and several zombies with haste. This would be already lethal, but if my opponent will not concede, we'll do even better than that. Satoru triggers, and I will draw a card because I left that LED on top. You remember? Yeah? LED resolves. We can cast a 5th Resulting here for free. Why not? Dredge 6. Dredge 6. Another Narco. More therapies. Yup. Satoru triggers. Let's just be careful to not die to decking, right? Okay. So we can Dredge return. We can win with Thassa's Oracle, guys. But we have lethal here, right? So it's more fun if we just return our Grave Troll with haste, right? We have lethal with zombies, so... Yeah, Thassa's Oracle. I don't need her. It. I don't need Thassa's Oracle. Let's just attack with a giant grave troll. 13, 13. 13 means that it's not your lucky day. Who is stronger, guys? Emrakul, the Aeon Storm, or just a bunch of angry zombies? This is the zombie apocalypse. And we are going to the finals. Against the Lens guy or an unknown opponent. Guys, the dream is probably over. We are on the draw against my opponent, playing Lens, the blue Lens, and with bad mulligans here. Let's pay attention. Okay, let's keep this. My opponent kept 7 cards. Which one is better against Lens, Bridge or Cabal Therapy? I think the Therapy, in case we have the opportunity to therapy our opponent to name crop rotation soon. And my opponent kept 7 cards. This is, as I told you on round 3, this is probably one of the hardest matchups for any Dredge deck, but especially here because I don't have any tools against my opponent. I have a Mask, which is a free discard spell, in my sideboard, but I don't have anything specifically pointing towards my opponent. My opponent has a turn 1 Exploration and Dark Depths. Oh, okay, my opponent is not holding crop rotation mana here. Maybe they don't have a crop rotation? Okay, let's resolve this Faithless Looting. Okay, we have LED. So let's discard our both Dredgers here. Oh, guys, I think I'll go for it because we have Cabal Therapy here. The right thing to do against any other opponent is just waiting for the next turn, right? But we have a chance here to just find an Narcomoeba and see what's going on from the other side, because my opponent might have a Bojuka Bog in their hand, for example. Okay, we couldn't find anything, unfortunately. We have Anger there. If my opponent is just holding Bojuka Bog, it's over. It was too bad because on top we had good spells. We had a Cephalic Elysium soon that other Wildest could find as a Cephalic Elysium to win on turn 2, guaranteed. But against this opponent, guys, if you watched the round 3, you'll know what I mean, right? My opponent has Ottawa and Sylvan Library and Wasteland. Okay, my opponent kept a super slow hand. Not a good hand against us. But that Sylvan Library is so scary. Narcomoeba, please. No. Yeah, we tried to do fast things. Let's pass a turn. Okay, since my opponent seems to not have nothing in their hand, only Sylvan Library, they can draw 2 additional cards here. Hopefully, none of them is Crop Rotation or Bojuka Bog or Expedition Map. So 5, 6 cards. My opponent has 6 good hits on top of their 3 cards. Okay, they paid life to keep 1 extra card, and now they have Surveil 1. So they don't want Maze of it. And now they Wasteland me, of course. So no lands and life from the loam. Now, between Loam and Sylvan Library, my opponent will see so many cards. So if they don't have Crop Rotation yet, they will probably have next turn a second Exploration. That's so scary. Guys, we have nothing and my opponent has everything. Come on, Dredge 6. Narcomoeba is here. All right. So we have a chance. This is turn 3. Yeah, and my opponent has no crop yet. So let's cast Cabal Therapy targeting ourselves here, because I know for sure that now my opponent has only lands in their hand. They are not trying to keep white mana for Swords to Plowshares or blue mana for a possible answer in the main deck. So let's just put back into our graveyard our Grave Trolls. Go. And our Grave Trolls are there. I'll not even spend my Cabal Therapy here just to make sure that my opponent has lands, guys, because this is probably the answer here. My opponent kept a hand just thinking on Sylvan Library. Now again, the first draw was a Dredge 3, no Bog. Now 2 additional draws. So my opponent is seeing like 6, 7 cards every turn. Any crop rotation will win the game for my opponent. And the funny thing is, even if my opponent cannot find what they need here with the Sylvan Library, it's not guaranteed that they will lose the game. We still need to hit... Okay, my opponent kept 1 card. We still need to hit... It's getting scary for my opponent because we have 2 Poxwalkers, right? But we still need to hit at least 1 Breach or 1 Narcomoeba to try to win the game. My opponent destroyed their own Ottawa, so they can take Ottawa back. Let's try to understand what is going on here. So my opponent played Maze of it, 2 mazes, and Wooded Foothills. Because of 2 mazes, my opponent is protected against my Poxwalkers, but they cannot activate Ottawa yet. So our best chance to win is through the combo with Thassa's Oracle here. Narcomoeba is here. So we saved our therapies on the previous turn, so now we can cast Dredge Return. Yeah, Ottawa needs 4 mana. My opponent doesn't have anything that will reduce that. So let's get our Satoru. My opponent cannot bounce Satoru here. They don't have enough mana to do that. Do they have an answer? No. Okay. Satoru enters. We'll Dredge 6. And we have 2 therapies there. Let's cast one of them, targeting ourselves here. I don't think we need to target my opponent. But we already have a Grave Troll there, right? This will just help us to definitely hit the bottom of our deck with Satoru here. So Narcomoeba, yes. Triggering Satoru. We dredge 5. Another Narco. We have the win, guys. I'm scared. A miracle has happened. We won game 1. Oof. Maybe my opponent had some different choices here against us, but this is probably because I'm just assuming here that this is just a common matchup for them, because the starting hand wasn't especially good against us. So Unmask. And what else? Leilani is interesting because sometimes, as we saw, my opponent relies on Life from the Loam hands. But I don't think we can include that many cards. We really need to think here, guys, but because we won game 1, this is like a game-winning a game-winning scenario. If we won next game, we just win the challenge. So I think we'll include 4 Unmasks instead of this, like I usually do. But I will keep Thassa's Oracle and Satoru. In the previous weeks, I've been siding out the Oracle combo and the Satoru, and trying to win with Angry Zombies. But I think I will try to do this for the first time here. Less enablers and more targets. And this is a good keep, actually. We have access to Cabal Therapy, we have Unmask. We don't have Dredgers yet. My opponent starts with Exploration, which is good. Mox Diamond. Oh, my tea is over, guys. If I lose my voice, it's because of you. My opponent has Wasteland. Okay, my opponent has access to Crop Rotation here. So, only 2 cards in my opponent's hand. Scouting turn. So, this is not a turn 1 because we don't have a Dredger, but we can disrupt our opponent for good here, because they don't have a Sylvan Library this time. Unfortunately, we don't have... I sided out 1 Poxwalkers, right? So, if I exile this Poxwalkers, we'll have only 1, but we can always hit Narcomoeba and Bridge and Cabal Therapy. So I think the right call here is to exile Poxwalkers. Oh gosh. Whoa, Crop Rotation and Swords to Plowshares. Guys, I think we have a good chance of winning this. Against our... This is our nemesis. The deck and the player, because we lost round 3. And we lose to lands all the time. So let's take that Swords to Plowshares, just to be sure. Especially because now we don't have our Poxwalkers anymore. We have only 1 Poxwalkers remaining in our deck. My opponent is Hellbent. My opponent... I'll not even reveal Lions of Diamond, because my opponent's build is not the stacks build. Okay, my opponent will destroy our Underground Sea, that's expected. And now we draw. Dredge Return, not the best. Let's play our Scouting turn and pass a turn. If we draw a blank next turn, we'll play LED and cast Breakthrough with X equals to 1. Oh, my opponent has Containment Priest. Okay, guys. Our answer against Containment Priest is casting cards from our hand, casting creatures from our hand, which is difficult now, because we don't have Underground Sea anymore, so we don't have Black Mana anymore. So we need to find Ox of Agonas. Ox of Agonas, Cabal Therapy, Bridge from Below, that's the answer. We have a Volcanic Island now. Can we wait? My opponent is Hellbent again. My opponent has Wasteland. Because I know that I need 2 red mana to cast Volcanic Island, Cephalic Coliseum is actually the worst land in our hand now. Even if we top deck a Dredger and we combo off with LED and Breakthrough, it's not guaranteed that we'll hit Ox of Agonas immediately, because we play only 1. So we need to stick with 2 red mana, just to be sure. My opponent is still Hellbent. They have an... Okay, my opponent... The bait worked. My opponent used their second Wasteland. And no Life from the Loam in sight. And now we have a Dredger. Let's go for it. Let's go for it! Guys, I can feel it. I can feel it. We have a real shot here to win this tournament. Can you feel it? I can feel it. Volcanic Island. Okay, guys, let's breathe. I got too excited here. We need to do several right choices in a row to maybe win the game, the match, and the tournament right now. So, let's hold priority here. I'll cast Breakthrough with X equals to 1, in case everything goes wrong and we draw an extra land for next turn. And then we'll discard our hand, making 3 red mana, Dredge 5. Okay, everything is beautiful. Dredge 6. No Ox yet, Dredge 6. No Ox yet, Dredge 6. Ox of Agonas is there. Ox of Agonas is there. Just perfect deck building, guys. Containment Priest? No problem. Okay, we say no to Narcomoebas. And now we'll cast Ox of Agonas. We can exile some useless cards from our deck. Let's click on them properly. Alright, alright. My opponent press F6 here because they have nothing, and we will What we still want, right? We want more bridges and therapies. Because we can even cast Ox in the next turn. We will not have lethal here, but we will have several zombies at the end of this turn if we reach several bridges. We can just attack with Ox, of course. So I think I'll just draw here, because now we already hit bridges. We have 3 bridges in our graveyard, and we want to cast a single Cabal Therapy, right? We don't need to cast more than one. Poxwalkers will be exiled, unfortunately. Priest is really good against Poxwalkers. We don't need to name anything. Now we will attack with 3 Angry Zombies. Drudge Return has no text against Containment Priest. And next turn we can cast Ox again if my opponent has a blank on top of the deck. Oh, is just Wasteland. So we cannot cast Ox anymore. Let's stop deck. Cephalic Coliseum, alright. So we can crack Cephalic Coliseum or cast Otherworldly Gaze. Let's cast it, right? Surveil 3 is better than draw 3, discard 3 in this situation. We still have mountains. We still have 2 volcanics in our deck, right? I play with 3. So we still have 2 volcanics in our deck. Let's attack. I think we don't need to cast Otherworldly Gaze immediately. Let's see my opponent's reaction first. Okay, there is some movement. Oh, Sylvan Library, guys. We need to be fast. We need to be fast. Well, my opponent is attacking, so at least we'll put my opponent into a position that they cannot draw extra cards with Sylvan Library. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze here. I'm losing my voice completely. Otherworldly Gaze. Okay, we have LED. LED can... LED. LED. LED, guys. LED on top. LED on top, guys. LED will win us the tournament. I almost crying here, guys. I'm getting emotional. LED. Now we crack LED. And we will... My opponent knows what's happening. My opponent concedes the match. Oh, guys. This was so sweet. We won against the lands. We won against our 2 nemesis. Two players that won against us in the ranking section. And then we won against them in the semifinals. In the finals. Okay, guys. Let's talk a little bit about our deck and I will have some rest. That's it, guys. It totally paid off. It's totally worth it. Like, all the hard work that I did put into this deck. And not only hard work, like some passion that I have here. You have no idea, guys. Like working on an idea that you feel that it will work. This deck has so much history behind it. Like when I first started playing Dredge in Legacy, and then I noticed that the deck could do more. And then I started including other cards like Otherworldly Gaze. Then Poxwalkers, I was like the guy who told everyone about the power of this card. Before this card getting into Magic Online, I was playing with it on paper. And then including the combo, including basic lands, including everything. Guys, so much work behind each one of these small differences here compared to older Dredge decks from the past. And it's totally worth it. Like, I feel great. I feel in heaven right now. So what I'm going to do is, as I believe I told you at the intro, my new sideboard guide for this deck is almost finished. And after this incredible tournament, I think I will just update a little thing or 2 before publishing it tomorrow on my Patreon. So go check there if you also want to know what to do against probably more than 20 decks of this current meta. I will try to be really specific and detailed on my sideboard guide, as I usually do on my articles and my texts that I publish on my Patreon. We'll have some new things coming this week. We have the new edition, Age of Eternities. We have some spoilers from the next Universes Beyond edition with Spider-Man. And we Dredge players are anticipating that maybe we will have at least 1 or 2 interesting cards from that new release. So let's keep our eyes open and let's keep digging, dredging into new ideas here on this channel. Don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. I would love to know if you had a great time here with me watching this. See you soon. Bye.